If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
To buy our merch, right here. This one, that's the whole thing.
Got you.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Buy our merch.
Never mind. You know,
Yes.
everybody runs into troubles, and we ran into our fair share. We have got a big night tonight. Apparently, Sylosis has put out like a brand new EP that Ben has decided we should dip our toes into and enjoy.
Yes.
All right, so he says, it's time for Vin and Sori to walk the path, and by that, I see what you did there. I mean, review Sylosis' newly released EP entitled The Path.
God.
I had other streams I wanted to do, but Sylosis rudely interrupted my plans when they released this EP on October 3rd, 2024. Oh boy, it's a bumpy ride. Strap in village, you're in for one. That's so funny that you said it's a bumpy ride. And here we are rolling in at this time.
This hour.
I was literally going to say this hour.
Yeah, okay. So Firefox is not doing any favors to me right now.
I think my chair's a little bit low. Like, it looks like I'm just a talking head.
Yeah, well, talk to the people.
Don't be rude, Vin.
Ben was first.
Don't be rude.
Okay, so this looks like the entire album.
Right,
That's
and
what
then
it
he's
looks
got
like
the
to
stop
me.
points. Right.
Gotcha.
And then
okay.
so
That
basically what
makes a
happens,
lot of
you guys
sense.
know how this goes. If we play an official on this channel, an official video
On the YouTube side.
on the YouTube side, right, then we actually, don't get treated very well by the
fascists at YouTube. You know they had the nerve to send me a 15-minute survey?
Yeah, they're like, fill this out and let us know how great we are.
Yeah.
And Finn was like, let me fill you in.
Yeah, I'll fill you guys in. Freaking weirdos.
Okay, so we're going to be watching the officials over here so we can get the full effect. While the rest of you...
plebeians...
Yeah, so open up a second tab if you want to, so you too can see the official. We just can't play it on the YouTube side. Unfortunately, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Speaking of cookies.
And crumbling. Yeah. Shout out to my daughter for getting herself some cookies at the store.
Brilliantly done.
Yeah, Zoe Simpson up in this bitch. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Okay, so...
Hopefully she doesn't watch this.
She's probably about to pass in your dinner. Okay.
Laced with poison.
Let me bring this back to the kitchen to add a bit more. Wait, I was going to say pepper, but you love pepper. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys a story. Vinny, when him and I were just friends, I saw I saw his ex, but she wasn't his ex at the time. She brought him some eggs, and it was loaded with so much pepper. I thought to myself, for sure they're fighting.
Yeah,
For
it was
sure.
it was egg flavored pepper at the time.
There was so much pepper. But then I realized, you know, now that I've been with him for so long, that is how he likes things. He puts so much pepper on things. I'm like, really?
And you also got to know Shorty that if she was really going to do something to me, it'd be poison in that bitch and not pepper.
That is not a joke.
Right?
Yes.
She would have.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. That she
There
was
were a
being very
couple
loving
times.
that
There were a
day.
couple times that I wouldn't eat until she ate first.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, hey, try some of this, babe. Ah! And there was one time where she was hesitant. I was like, okay.
Oh no.
I never told you that story.
Oh, that's scary. All right, so we are not going to forget our video description timestamps because Ben wouldn't let us.
DJ Ben would not allow it to occur.
No, he would not.
All right, can we start? Here we
Yes,
go.
we can.
Here we go.
Okay, song number 1, The Path.
This is Sylosis-The Path. Now this is Ben, so you got to make sure you get the timestamp and in the description and all that stuff. Otherwise, you'll be. See what I'm saying?
Yes, I already read the introduction, and now,
Just want to make sure everything is perfect.
yes, actually, let me,
Here we go. Here's the stream key.
wait, actually, let me just pause this.
Oh, that's the official, right?
Yeah, so
Nice.
we're gonna be playing that. I'm just gonna take the timestamp there.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got? McDonald's?
That's the stream key.
Oh no. Be careful, everybody. Alright, so our timestamp is 8:29. Alright, let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Sylosis in this bitch.
The Path.
Okay, now we've got the timestamp on every song, so please keep his up. You see what I'm saying? Because he's got all the timestamps built in there, right?
Yeah, but you also want me to play the official, so let me do it the other way then. Oh, my timestamp is gonna be wrong. Okay. Let me see this. Before you're ready to hit it?
Go.
Wait.
A timestamp is do 9:15.
Okay.
Okay, everybody.
9:15.
Here is Sylosis. The name of the entire record is called The Path.
Yeah, and this is the name of this song is The Path. So
And this is the title track, Song 1, The Path, from Sylosis' extended EP.
just came out beginning of October 2024.
Just came out in October 2024. I don't know the name of the EP, but it should be fun.
It's
All
called
right.
The Path.
Are we ready?
The name of the EP is The Path.
Okay, that's right. The Path, that's right. Are you ready?
We're ready. Go.
All right, here we go. Song numero uno. What time does it stop at? Your Grace?
It would be better if you just started since our timestamp was there and we could have got that. 4:50.
Okay, so it starts at 4:50.
No, it ends
ends
at
at 4:50. Okay. All right, guys. Sylosis-The Path. Here we go. Boop.
I swore an oath to myself I would never break. The bonded blood, a pact taken to the grave. I lit the spark, you let the flame circle me. Watch it burn, it's the only protection I have.
Whoa!
Woo!
Project this spell through the eye of the storm. Dropped like flies from the rest of the side.
Yes, Pinky! Uh-oh. Open. Open. Hey!
I swore it all to myself, I would never break. A bloody blood, a boxing into the grave. Maybe the gun is along your busters, run them up. If the ring, shelter us, shelter off.
Wow, I got goosebumps. Wow.
Oh, we slowing it down. We slowing it down.
Wow.
Song numero uno, The Path.
That is
Holy
definitely the
smokes.
desperate type of vocals that I like. You guys know that. And then they brought in the female vocals that were also equally as great.
At the end, yeah, Shorty was on that shit, boy.
Yeah.
I love Sylosis, dude. They're like, I don't know. When I was listening to metal, when I first got into metal, I mean, they're not a new metal band, but they would have fit right in with the roster that we used to listen to as when I was in high school. These guys would have fit right in.
Oh, okay.
Like this is a kind of metal that like, this is my shit. What Ben Webb. He's like, oh, Vin, you're a Neanderthal with the whatever.
Knuckle dragger.
Knuckle dragging idiot imbecile. I get it, but I'm sorry. This is the type of metal I like, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I came into this through Korn, okay? Real metal. Yeah, man. This is the type of shit that I would have like listened to. It's also the type of music I like to play. One, because it's so simple and I'm an entry-level guitarist, but two, because it's just so heavy.
It's fun, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and plus, with the simple shit, you could do a lot of creative shit on stage. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not doing like a million solos. It's just dun dun dun. So you can jump around. You can do a backflip. You can do a lot of things because you know what I'm saying. Like it's dun 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 dun. Remember that time that dude's cord got unplugged and like the song sounded exactly the same?
Yes.
I'm not gonna say the name of the band. I'm not gonna say the name of the band.
I remember.
Oh shit.
All right, so the name of this song is called "The Path." Lyrically, I was watching the visuals, so I'm interested to break down the lyrics, and of course, you know, the style of vocals. I did keep hearing "bloodstained." So let's see what the lyrics have to say. I swore an oath to myself I would never break, a bond in blood, a pact taken to the grave. I lit the spark and let the flames encircle me. Watch it burn, it's the only protection I need. Ooh.
Yeah, that was a heavy line.
Yeah, I'm too entrenched, I'm too far gone. I kept this vow through the eye of the storm. Some got burned along the way, dropped like flies, while the rest of us stayed. I stand in the rain under these clouds of gray, watch the seed grow from nothing. I walk the path unchanged, still chained. I held on to my wrath because it's ingrained, blood-stained. Wow. Okay, for me, when I'm reading that first part, remember one time we were talking about, like, pacts? We didn't use the word pacts that you make with yourself, but it was basically like decisions that you make or principles that you set for yourself, and then you try to keep them throughout your life because there's some... Like, we have this sort of value that we place on being, like, a person that doesn't change. Like, you're this person and they've always been this person. But sometimes the decisions or the pacts that you make when you're young, when you get older, like, you betray yourself and other people around you if you hold on to those.
Right.
And
Right.
I remember we were talking about that, and that's what it made me think of, like... because a lot of times we make those decisions and those pacts is because we are trying to find some sort of protection, some sort of safety, a way to live your life that prevents you from the downfalls that you saw in that other generation or people around you. That's what that beginning part made me think of, especially because of the way it goes. Like, I walk the path unchanged, still chained. I held on to my wrath because it's ingrained, bloodstained. That's a really good... rhyme scheme there.
I think it's very self-aware of him to realize that he's holding on to his wrath.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we had this conversation a couple days ago. We were talking about the wrath of man does not accomplish the glory of God or something like that in James. Mm-hmm. And so there's this... I mean, it's in society as well, definitely in the mental health field, and definitely also in Christianity. There's a big question. How do we handle anger? Mm-hmm. And in our, I mean, aside from the metal context, but in our, you know, society at large, anger is almost universally looked upon as a negative emotion. Mm-hmm. Or if a person gets angry too quickly, most times society will phase that person out. You won't be on the team. You won't be at work. They'll divorce. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so like there is a tension in society and religions and maybe even yourself and even little subcultures. There's a tension of, okay, I see you're angry. I see you're upset over here, and this is a bad feeling. And the other side is, but you're setting everything on fire now because you're angry and everybody's dealing with your wrath. Mm-hmm. And human wrath to me looks like you get to that point. You know, we talk about the alcoholic, right? And like he doesn't mean to run somebody over with his car, but he got himself drunk before he got into the car, and that's where the responsibility lies. We're not saying you purposely hit that 5-year-old kid. What we're saying is you put yourself in a situation where that would be inevitable. Yeah. Okay, so then I've got an angry person. Well, if you go to a bar, it's valid to drink. That's what people do. They drink at bars. If you go to the club, it's valid to drink. Combining that with an automobile is where the problem comes in. Mm-hmm. And so if I look at anger and I go, okay, what is anger there for? And is it one of those things where it needs to be completely eliminated? Or is it like cyanide, where like you don't take a drop of it? Or is it like NyQuil, which will address the problem in the main if you use enough of it? If you overuse it, then now you've got a new set of problems. If you underuse NyQuil, then you're going to be in the same situation as far as being sick goes, right? That's how I look at anger. I look at anger more like NyQuil than I do cyanide, because there are instances, for example, Rage Against the Machine.
I think I would use water instead.
Well,
There's
you
a
can't.
certain amount of water that will hydrate you, and too much will drown you. Anger.
Yeah, I get it, but it's different because one, you're drinking, the other one's you're falling into an entire body of water.
Oh, NyQuil.
It's kind of obvious. NyQuil is, you can take some, and if you take the right amount, it'll address the issue. But if you take too much of it, it'll create another set of issues. So, thank you for your attempt at my wonderful metaphor. Okay? But
Well, you know, there are people that drown themselves because they drink too much water.
I'm the master. No, they're not.
It runs out their electrolytes.
One person dies every 50 years
could happen.
from water poisoning.
What?
The last one was named Bruce Lee. Yeah, that's what took out the big homie Bruce Lee. He overhydrated. But when I think about anger, it's like Rage Against the Machine line, anger is a gift. And I agree, anger is a gift, and so is NyQuil. Right? And it's like, okay, what are the positive aspects of anger? Well, anger functions to get people who are weak out of it gives them the sort of energy and mindset to accomplish things that they would not have accomplished were they calm. There's an example of this in the Bible. We were talking about it. The first king of Israel, his name was Saul. And the fact of the matter is, he was soft. He didn't like to fight. And then the problem is that it wasn't like America where the king could just send people off to war and he'd stay at home and chill. The king was supposed to be the commander-in-chief. Mm-hmm. He was supposed to be on the front line. So this is the first king of Israel, and he's out here, hiding. He doesn't want to fight. And then it says, the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon Saul, and then it said he got angry. He got furious.
Oh, yeah. And
he got out, and he became basically like Hercules and took everybody out. And so that's an example where you say, oh, anger's good there. That's good anger because it helps you fight against oppression. It's a response, even if you want to look at it from a Darwinian perspective, it's a response to selection pressure, right? So you've got this other segment of people, they're coming in to oppress you, kill you, all those types of things. And the most basic human instinct is to survive and procreate. And these people are talking about killing you and ripping your pregnant wives open, right? Anger functions to overcome the fear of those people to attack them. Mm-hmm. So that's a situation in which anger was positive. Later on, this same guy, Saul, went out on an ethnic cleansing parade against these people called the Gibeonites. It's very, very interesting. It said Saul, in his zeal for Israel, not zeal for God. In his zeal for Israel, he tried to wipe out he tried to commit an act of genocide. And God said, okay, that's cool. You guys are just not going to get any rain for years.
Oh my gosh, that's why that happened?
Yeah. And so David goes, God, what happened? What do we do? And he goes, you guys, you gotta fix that problem. So they go to the Gibeonites and say, hey, the previous king tried to ethnically cleanse you. What do you want us to do? And long story short, 7 of Saul's sons got given over to these people. They executed them. And then it says that the anger of the Lord left Israel, and then they were able to, be free from the famine. So Saul is a good example of both extremes. There's one example where the anger actually is a positive thing. It helps you fight against oppression. But on the other hand, if that anger is allowed to stay there, and, there is a sort of high definitely a high you get when you're, obviously nobody can check on brainwaves when a person's in real combat. But there is a certain high that you get from the anger and the emotions. Everything is on 11 in a combat situation, and it's impossible to replicate that anywhere else. Mm. So you get dudes that become, they'll say they're addicted to adrenaline, but really the adrenaline is coming in there as a physical way to support the anger that's happening. Mm-hmm. So it's not the adrenaline they're addicted to, it's the anger that triggers the adrenaline. But yeah, it's such a crazy song to think about because I'm not sure that this guy's using anger properly. But he's not saying he's trying to use it properly. No. He's saying it's ingrained in him.
Yeah, but he also describes it as, he says, I walk the path unchanged, still chained. I held on to my wrath.
Yeah.
So he's at the point where he's realizing that, the wrath served to fuel something at some point, but now it's become it's become a chain that he's carrying around all over the place. But it's so ingrained in him, and he's so blood-stained by it. It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to change. He said it still lives, and it still bursts through veins, scarred and bleeding on broken wings. It can't be feigned, a sentence to the grave.
Faked. Yeah.
Don't pray for me now. I've withered the flames. And then he repeats that same thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the dude is very, very self-aware. And I'm pretty sure, like, the anger has putrefied here. This is not good anger. Good anger is there for you to be able to live as free as possible and to fight oppression. Bad anger is where you oppress everybody else because something happened to you personally. And as long as we can control both, then we'll be fine. And I think, you know, in the hip hop community, you're getting people shot every year, that type of thing. In the metal community, you don't really see dudes going out to kill each other. Now, granted, like, some of that has to do with where these guys came from. Like, a metalhead's gonna come from his garage band in Nebraska. A rapper's gonna come from, you know, the hood or whatever. There is not a big primer in our culture, in black culture, on acknowledging hurt and pain and anger. Right? So, like, when your friend gets killed, you're not supposed to cry publicly because then your opposition will laugh at you about it. So, what do you do in a situation where you're not allowed to grieve and then you lost your best friend? Well, that anger is going to putrefy, and then you're going to get in a car and shoot everybody, right? So, because this might be a stretch, but because in metal, we're allowed to express everything that we feel, whether it's anger, sadness, whatever, even questioning our sexual orientation, right? We're allowed to do that in metal. Rappers aren't allowed to do that. So, where does the anger go? And then their fans, where does their anger go? It goes into a gun, they go shoot people, right? With us, it's like, maybe it's a mosh pit, maybe it's a this, maybe it's a that, or you go home and you slam the door and you put on Sylosis in your head. Like, I just think that that's a lot more safe than the sort of fake stoicism that happens in hip-hop when somebody dies. I don't know.
Do you think that, like, when you're talking about wrath that's so ingrained in you that you're chained by it, like, I mean, I have an interesting relationship with anger and wrath. I don't acknowledge it. So all of a sudden I'll be like, Jesus, why did I do that? And then I'll look back and I'll be like, I guess that... And then I can tie it to anger sometimes. But it's really, really disconnected, unfortunately, from my mindsets and my mentalities. It's like, I don't know. Like, do you think that... I actually don't even know how to pose my question. So I've always thought that anger was bad. Like that, like growing up, anger was bad. You should never have anger. Anger should never be there for any reason. Even if injustice is happening and you're going to do something about it, there's no reason to be angry. You know, like, hold yourself together, exercise self-control, and do what you need to do. Like, keep your mind, like, sharp so you can address everything and but anger was not something that we really learned to, like, work with. And it was almost, like a masculine, emotion. Where girls could cry if you feel whatever. I mean, that wasn't encouraged. You're not supposed to be just blubbering all over the place, but, like, you know, if something happens and you cry, that's okay. But, like, anger was more for men. So I guess I don't really, how would you describe, like, what, and maybe I'm not sure if you have worked that out yourself, but, like, when there's a situation that requires anger, or do you think that anger is required to deal with situations? Like I hear you that there is some stuff, like, people need to get out of a situation. It's the anger that sort of gives them the, like, to move out of it.
I think the way I look at it is that Jesus got angry, and Jesus was a perfect human being.
That's right. No,
right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so,
but when it says that the wrath of man doesn't produce the righteousness of God, is that when you're going out for your own?
The wrath of man is ego-based. Good wrath is love-centered. So, for example, you've got these Jews who are trying to make Gentile people not come and worship God, and they turned it into a business, and that's why Jesus went and cleared the temple, and he got violent.
He did, yeah.
He made a cord, he made a whip of
They didn't even try to stop him.
and he slapped the shit out of a bunch of people. So, like, that is, and then when Jesus talked, he says, "My house shall be a center of prayer for all nations."
Yes.
And you're keeping these people out. So now I'm gonna do this thing, and I want some of y'all to come see me. Because there were times when Jesus would like reveal who he was to people, and they didn't have a full understanding, but they were like, okay, we're just gonna let this guy go along.
Yeah.
And he was beating the hell out of these folks, turning over their money, and you know them folks love their money. And nobody tried to stop him. But yeah, I think like Jesus' anger is love-based in God first and then people. The wrath of man is basically all ego, but it gets kind of tricky because I am somebody God loves. Right? So if you're violating me, right, and then I get angry, is it the wrath of man or the wrath of God? That's the question. And I think God will let you know, like, where your anger is coming from. 9.4 for me.
I want you to play this. It's very fitting.
God.
It was saved in my shorts, but...
All right, guys, here we go. We're going to give you a little bonus. Figures DJ Ben
it
gets
had
the
to
bonus.
do with anger.
Yeah.
Wait, you need to get the long... It's shortened.
What?
It's not showing the full picture. There it is.
No! Why did you make things so complicated for me? Hold on. Stand by, dear listener.
Just shrink us, yeah.
All right, so here we go. This is a thingy about anger.
This
God.
is how we had to deal with our anger growing up. It's so bad. See how quietly you shut the door?
I'm running away!
Can't do that either! Go to bed, kid.
Powerless, kid. You're powerless.
Powerless. Did you see when he came into the room, he wanted to slam the door, but then he closed it
Yeah.
quietly? Okay. I sent it to my brother. He's like, wow, that's unbelievably realistic.
Yeah, and look, I do believe that there are appropriate godly uses of anger. I do. And if an LGBT bar gets shot up, and then some preacher shows up the next day and says, "Good, they deserve to go," blah blah. No, I'm gonna be angry at that guy. It's in my head because I just saw something from like 6 years ago where that happened, and that actually happened. Like, anger is not all bad. Like, it's good to be angry at a guy who says that after a community of people have lost in the most brutal way fashion possible.
I was just talking to somebody
You
today.
gotta be you better be angry about that, or something's wrong with you.
They said that their kid had gotten watched. Well, they were doing fostering, and the kid kept going back and forth from the foster back to their place, and every time they went to their biological parents' house, they ended up getting sexually molested somehow, whatever. And they got taken from their parents' house and put in with the grandparents, and the same damn thing happened. The grandfather did it to the kid again, but now she was older. And he said, I showed up, and he said, when I showed up in there, he said she looked scared, something was wrong. And then he said, I found out what happened, and he said, basically he was friends with the police that were in that area. And so when it came time, the cop said, I'll give you 5 minutes. And so he went to town on the guy. And I was like, you know, I am with stories like that. I was like, I'm glad that somebody was doing something, but how is this? Because he like really beat the shit out of the person, but at the same time, he really hurt that kid. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, it was just an interesting discussion thinking about how you had just said that today. So anyway, leave kids alone.
9.5 for me.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to give this one a 9.6. Those female vocals pushed it up for me.
That was a really strong opening. What was it, till 4:45?
It was like 4:30, I think it was, but...
All right,
Let's
guys.
see who was right. Let's see who was closer. Ooh. is it? 550.
450.
I mean,
all right, guys. So we're doing an entire EP without commercials so that we don't hit the mute button on accident. You know how it is.
Yep.
Here we go. I got to get to song number 2. Stand by.
So we're going to 450.
Ben gave that one a 10.
It was really good.
What did you give it?
I gave it a 9.6, but I might regret that.
All right, so we're going into song number 2.
I'm going to take that timestamp.
Yep. Give me a second. Stand by! There it is. All right. What's the next song called?
Soured Ground.
Okay. Soured Ground. Get the timestamp, babe.
Yep, that's 37:30.
Soured Ground. And get those lyrics up for me, por favor.
Okay, let's go. I'll give it to you.
Okay, so did you get the timestamp?
I did, but if you're going to wait for me to get lyrics, then the timestamp shouldn't have been done first. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, we'll do that. Once you screenshot it, then we'll be able to make it happen. Alrighty then, here we go, guys. Song number 2, Sylosis. What's the name? What's the title track? Soured Ground. Soured Ground is the name of this song, guys. Okay, so let's go with 38. Just 38 minutes.
Got it.
Okay. All right, guys, here we go. Soured Ground. Shout out to the big homie
out.
Applejack. Let's do it.
There are blisters on my tongue from biting it for so long. We inhale the darkness, tracked into hell for ransom. Recover on its shoulder, conscience in decline. Sword to my mouth shut, but now my hands are untied. Gonna rise the nerves, who does my life serve? I just keep falling from grace, from decaying in this place. So now I carry my heart
Wow.
around my neck. Like predators that sting with dripping teeth, salivating at the thought of your perpetual agony.
have told me what the timestamp was for the finish, but
Wow.
you didn't because you're
9:32. Is that where you stopped it?
starts at 9:32 is an hour. Okay.
Wow.
You seem to really, really, really vibe with this song. So
Yeah, I really think.
tell
Okay.
us why the song hit you like it did.
Well, because we talked about the song before with the anger thing, you know, like having that anger and how it was affecting him.
Yeah.
And then this one, there's blisters on my tongue from biting it for so long. I inhaled the darkness, dragged into hell for ransom. A devil on each shoulder, which is interesting because you used to have the devil and an angel.
Right.
But this is like, there's a devil on both shoulders.
It's just bad.
A conscience in decline, so I kept my mouth shut, but now my hands are untied. Cauterize the nerves. Who does my life serve? I just keep falling from grace. I'm decaying in this place, and now I carry my halo around my neck. It just seems like dude's in a really bad place, like in this. I assume like it was like the holding on to the anger. Sometimes I wonder, like, is it a situation that ruins us, or is it our reaction to the situation that ruins us, or is it our ongoing reaction to a situation that ruins us? But when he talked about like cauterizing the nerves, like we have nerves for a reason. It's meant to, you know, move your hand off the hot stove, or, you know, it's to protect you. Your nerves are there to protect you. But sometimes emotionally and spiritually, we kind of like deaden our nerves. And then he asks the question, who does my life serve? And I thought that was a good question because obviously, I mean, we're Christians. So if your life is to serve Christ, then there are decisions that you will make differently, or you should make differently.
Right.
So it does, I think that it does, Christianity gives you this sort of open door of understanding where you can see like, okay, you're a sinner and you've been a sinner since the day that you were born, but it's the grace of God that pulls you from those dark paths and sets you on a better path. But he's in this place where he's not even sure like who he's serving. And Jesus said like, look, basically Jesus puts it out there that like, look, if you're not serving me, then that's it. Like there's only one option here. It's Jesus or it's everything else. Mm-hmm. And so he's saying, I mean, I'm not really sure. He's having this sort of question. And when he's in this state of questioning, that's when he's saying, I keep falling from grace. I'm decaying in this place. That's another thing because Jesus said, look, come to me, all you who are weak and heavy laden, and I'm going to give you rest. And he also talks about himself in the way of saying like he's living waters for our like parched and dying souls. So he says, now I carry my halo around my neck. So it kind of seems like, I do think that he's using a lot of almost spiritual.
Yeah, he's using a lot of religious imagery.
Yeah, religious imagery.
Halo, martyr,
Grace,
sanctified,
falling,
grace, falling from grace. These are all
darkness, devil, conscience. Well, conscience isn't like, I guess you could, that doesn't necessarily have to be, but I just think, he said, I hear them calling my name. I can't help but walk away. So now I carry a halo around my neck. And I thought that part was kind of interesting because I'm not sure who them is that's calling his name. But whoever them is, when he doesn't listen to that call and respond to it, it ends up putting him in, he's saying he can't help it. He's going to walk away from it. And now, as a result of not listening or not responding to that,
I
he's
interpreted
carrying
that the other direction.
Oh, really? How so?
It just looks to me that this guy came up with a Christian background.
Yeah.
And it looks to me like this is probably about his conflict with the religion he was raised with / the music that he's engaging in.
Okay.
Especially if his parents came up during the 80s satanic panic stuff, where now you are attaching a theological or spiritual verdict on a person because of the music they listen to or play. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's going on here. So when he says, where was it? When he says, I hear them calling my name, I can't help but walk away. Mm-hmm. You interpret it as people calling and him going this way. Mm-hmm. I interpret it as people calling and him going to them, and that's what the walking away is. So, like, in my opinion, like, he's staying there, being a good Christian, whatever. But then he's a gifted musician, and that's what he likes to do, and that's what's calling him. I think it's what happens when people try to put your faith against what you do, and then it's like, how do you win inside? If you agree with those people that God has nothing to do with rock music, right? Mm-hmm. But you're supremely gifted in it, and you love it, and you love playing live. You know, I think the people around him, there's a way to be that and Christian at the same time. Like, they're not mutually exclusive. But
when we first started doing the channel, I don't know if you remember, like, people would come in the comment section and they'd be like, "Oh, you guys are Christians listening to this?" Like, remember they had, like, there was a lot of judgment in that regard. So, I mean,
right.
And that's just us listening, and it's not even like all the songs were the same type, but people still had judgment. So I can imagine this guy, like, this is your livelihood.
Yeah, and I just think it's beyond that. I mean, definitely livelihood, but I just think he loves music, and that's when it says, "Who do you serve?" Mm-hmm. Where that line is. Hold on.
So when he says, "I keep falling from grace," you're not saying you think that that's a perception of his based off of what people are, how the Christians are reacting
he's
to him?
agreeing with the religious people around him that if he engages in this type of music or whatever, that he's falling from grace. And that's just simply, you can't really make that argument biblically. But he says,
what about this?
What?
That part. So there are blisters on my tongue from biting it for so long. I inhaled the darkness, dragged into hell for ransom.
What about it?
What do you think he means, dragged into hell for ransom?
I think hell is him going into the music industry, and the ransom would be give up your lifelong dream to get out of this hell and be in good graces with the Christian people that you've been around. That's what it looks like to me, because he says he's been biting his tongue. He's got blisters from biting his tongue, and that's probably growing up in a religious house and saying, "I don't believe in that, I don't believe in that, I don't believe in that." But you got to bite your tongue because your parents, what are you going to do?
Yeah. This is wrong, that's wrong.
I remember, like, right after divorce, whatever, I was up playing Fortnite with the girls. I said, "How you guys doing? How are you and God doing?" They're like, They're both like, "I don't really like him. Don't want to talk to him. If he was really up there doing all this good shit, why are we in this bad situation?" And I'm playing Fortnite, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I get it for sure." Mm-hmm. And I just kept playing Fortnite, man. I didn't stop the game and have some big giant, you know.
I'm like, we're responsible for this. The reason that they're feeling this, you know what?
I was just like, "Oh, okay, that's cool, whatever," and I just kept it moving. You know what I'm saying? And I remember going back and telling her, and she's like, "Well, what did you say?" I said, "I didn't say nothing." She's like, "What's wrong with you?"
I don't think I said what's wrong with you.
You did. I
did?
remember very clearly. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. But like for me, especially when it comes to faith, I believe that God loves my kids more than I love them. So, if the girls say something like that, I'm gonna be like, of course I'm gonna pray for them, but I'm gonna be like, you know, I understand. And I had no doubt in my mind that they were gonna come back to God, no doubt whatsoever. You know, it's things that you have to go through, and you know, you gotta, as a parent, create the space for people to articulate unbelief or articulate.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, we had, you know, when we first started the channel, people were like, "What if one of your kids came out as LGBT? What would you do?" And I was like, "Oh, we just love them." And then like a year later, that's what happened. Somebody came out, blah blah blah. We loved them, you know, and you know, we were like, you know, I took individual aside and I said, "Look, we're not doing anything chemical. We're not doing anything surgical, but pronouns, haircut, dress, whatever you want, we're good. You know, you're 13 years old, for God's sake."
I panicked. I went in, I was like, trying not to say too much because I didn't want to discourage people and make people feel, but I was inside, I was like, oh my gosh. And I went on YouTube and I was like searching for like, what are parents doing? What are they doing in this situation? There was nothing. There was one video of one woman basically saying, "I don't know what to do. Somebody help me."
Yeah, and I just think if God is real, then he loves my kid more than me. And if God is real, he knew this conversation was going to happen. So I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to panic. And see, a lot of people like misunderstand their parents' panic for their parents' judgment. They're not the same thing.
I agree.
Right? Like,
I agree.
If you rob a bank and you tell your parents, they're going to panic. They still love you, but now you've catalyzed something, the consequences of which they may or may not be able to help you from. And just imagine if you believed in an eternal hell or something like that, and then your kid is out on this band, and everybody in your faith community is saying that's a mark of him going to hell. Of course. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of the shit that happens with parents and LGBT people, parents in metal, parents in whatever, a lot of the kids misunderstand fear for anger.
Yeah.
Which is what we just talked about in the previous song. But I had no fear about it. Because I had a lot of parents, like, they will go after their kid and make sure they're mega Christian because they're insecure about what the faith means. And so if this kid rebels against the faith, then it makes you feel insecure about your own. And so now you want to make sure the kid comes back so that you can be validated that it's real because you don't have something inside of yourself. But
for me, it was more about, I'm not a person, persuasion does not come easily for me. Like, I'm like by nature a controlling person. So if somebody is saying X, Y, and Z is happening, my default, like naturally, I've changed a lot from being around you. Mm-hmm. But like my default is to be like, that's wrong. You should have never done that. You shouldn't do that. You have to change. Like, I mean, that's just who I am. So like to try to like switch away from that, I think having kids makes you see that like, okay, persuasion is the only way. Because if you are by force, then people will say what they know you want to hear just to shut you up. But you have to persuade them and let them see the other side. So when I first found out about it, I was so nervous. Then I sat down and talked to you about it. I don't know if you remember that. And then once I heard from Vinny, I don't know how you perceived that, but I felt better because I'm like, okay, like he's got a direction here. Like, we've got something that we're going with. So I just kind of like jumped in behind him and prayed a bunch and just hoped that, like everything was gonna, and it did. I could see how, like, decisions that the person was making, like, there was some of them that I was like, we can't know. Like, why is it so short? You're cutting your hair? Yeah, but at the same time, and like when I brought the, for the haircut, even the stylist was like, looking at me like, really? You're going to let this happen? And I'm like, if that's what she wants. But it was challenging, but after I could see, like, you know what? It's only hair. These are only decisions that the person's making right now. And like, maybe they're going to keep these decisions all their life. I'm still going to love them. But there are certain decisions that people make that make their lives more difficult. And I think that, part of parenting is you want your kids to be set in a path that it's going to promote happiness and peace.
Yeah, but if you're insecure about your faith, then God help your kids, man.
Yes, you're going to be.
Like, God help your kids because a lot of, and there's a ready-made excuse. I'm just worried about your spirituality. Now you're worried about yours, bro. You're worried that the shit ain't real. If your kid can grow up in it from the beginning, from birth, and abandon it, then you're worried that it's not real. I don't care if the entire world went up against Jesus Christ. It doesn't matter to me. I know him. Mm-hmm. I met him. See what I'm saying? Like, I don't give a fuck what any of y'all say. You know 100%. What I mean? But not a lot of people are in that situation, especially when it comes to their kids. And the fact of the matter is, and we got to say this because I think one of the homies, he's brand new, but he's starting to really participate. Psychoactual says, for me, going to church turned into people trying to one-up each other. We have a nicer car than you. We're rich and you're not. We're better dressed. Couldn't stand it. Yeah. Because a lot of what happens I'm not criticizing Christianity because I believe it's the truth. It is the ultimate and total truth. And what I'm about to say is actually recorded in Christianity as further proof. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of Christian parents are not even struggling with the existential issue of, is my religion right or wrong, when their kid is expressing doubt or whatever. Mm-hmm. What they're truly concerned about is, we saw your kid with the short haircut and the pants and the shirt, and she looks like a dude. Is your kid one of them trans people? And you know that if they find that out, they're going to be talking about you in prayer circles, because that's how we gossip about each other. Oh my God, poor Sally. Did you see Sally's daughter running around like a little dude? It's the trans stuff. They're, oh man, it's so terrible. He shakes their head. And then they gossip about this person for half an hour, and then they pray for him for 3 minutes. And a lot of these parents have been in those gossip circles, and now it's their turn with their kids, and they will do anything and everything to maintain that social status in that crazy ecosystem. Up to and including, I cannot tell you. See, people misinterpret me all the time. They're like, Vin, why are you against abortion when Christians are getting the most abortions? I don't believe Christians are getting the most abortions, but I'm sorry, but when I hear Christian fathers talk and the way they talk to their daughters and the way that Christian mothers are, not all of them, I'm talking about what Psycho was talking about, where you're so worried about everybody else's opinion. You don't really care about what's going on with the kid. You're not asking any questions. You're not, hey, how did you come to this understanding? Nope. It's all, oh my God, what is Sally going to think of me? They're going to talk about me in the prayer circle, blah, 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 blah. And again, I'm not saying all prayer circles are gossip mills. I've been in prayer circles that were not. But if you're a Christian, you can tell the difference. We had people in there that had never experienced anything like that, and they're like, oh, that was different, right? So I'm not saying that prayer circles are bullshit or anything like that. What I'm talking about is a propensity for religious people to judge everybody because they are on some treadmill and they don't understand the concept of grace. And so they're up there doing these little checks. How do my kids look in public? How does our marriage look in public? Blah, blah, blah. It's all for the show. And so they miss out on a lot of stuff. And I think many a woman has been forced into an abortion clinic for that reason. And it's reason number 5,875 why I do not support under any circumstance any sort of penalty for women relative to abortion. All you got to do is take care of the fucking hitman, also known as the doctor, and the death camp, otherwise known as a clinic. We don't need to go after women who are being pressured by the boyfriend, pressured by the mom, pressured by the dad, sometimes by the pastor to go eliminate this child so that you don't have a problem at the prayer circle and all the rest of it because you're the associate pastor's daughter and you can't be walking around with a baby bump and you're not married. So now your kid's going to take a hit for the team. That's reason number 8 billion. I will never ever support any sort of prosecution for women
and your grandkid
relative to pro-life issues. Because I believe hundreds of thousands of babies have been killed because of that alone. And there have been times when I've been getting into real debates with abortion and people like, clean up your own house, blah, 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 blah. And that's supposed to like offend me and stop me in my tracks. I'm like, no, you're right. And Christians don't want to talk about this, but the fact of the matter is, there are abortions in all them red states by the millions. Okay? At least with leftists, it's like, I have a goal. I'm trying to go to college. I want a family later. I'm trying to go to college. I think it's a terrible reason to kill somebody, but it's like they're actually doing something like productive that can benefit society. You kill a child just because you don't want people talking shit about you. There's no benefit there. You see what I'm saying? Like, everybody knows where I'm at with it, but if a girl says, look, I'm trying to be a medical doctor, blah, 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 like, that's a horrible reason to kill a person, but at least humanity is getting some sort of benefit. But if you kill that child just because you don't want your subculture to talk shit about your daughter, you've now lost your grandchild and your daughter. Because she'll never forget it, and she'll never forgive it, because you'll never apologize for it. It's just a fact. There's a lot. I cannot tell you guys how many people were externally pro-choice, heard me talk, and then come back to me later and said, yeah, I just can't say that because it'll give too much to these people or whatever. Like, it's real. That this religious hypocrisy shit. And look, the people that should be having these kinds of moral conflicts are people in the military, not people in bands. God would much rather you have a Ibanez in your hand than an M4. It's odd to me that during the Iraq War and the GWOT, if you were in the military, they would stand you up, they would clap, they'd praise you, blah, blah, blah. You could be the idiot, most out of shape, corniest dude. If you showed up to church in your fatigues, all them girls were around you, all types of craziness. But then the girl with the baby bump, we got to put her in the back. That's backwards, dear listener. Christians are supposed to celebrate life, And we're supposed to be against violence and death. If a person is in the military, what they should be thinking is, yeah, but they'll love me anyway. Yeah, I'm engaging in an art of violence, but the Christians are going to still love me anyway. You don't see a lot of that cognitive dissonance, like, oh man, I'm in the military, I'm killing people, and Jesus said turn the other cheek. But we're going to panic if your kid shows up with a haircut and a tie. Man, get the fuck out of here. And that's why I think secular people look at us and go, man, I'm out of here. Because we're just emphasizing the wrong thing. So the pregnant girl, she gets called a whore and all the rest of it, even though the Bible says that children are a reward from God. And then the guy who's going around killing people for the American empire, that guy gets exalted and praised. And then you wonder why these people call us hypocrites and say you don't believe in what we say we believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're going to sit there and be pro-life as you're celebrating this man? And God bless him, he's 19, 20 years old. He doesn't know anything. He was raised to believe that guns and shooting people, I'll tell you, he's raised just like me. You see what I'm saying? So, like, it's I think a lot of people leave the church, the American whatever, in order to preserve their faith, or in order for God. I think God has these people leave in order to preserve them, because if they stayed in that environment, Christianity would be impossible. The unbelief would be invincible at that point, because these people have just seen over and over again. I know a lot of people, man, who are really interested in the movement, really interested in alternate expressions of loyalty to Jesus, that cannot do it publicly. It's one of the reasons we have, Bible boogies offline. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
That's so interesting. So you completely flipped the song. I actually agree with your interpretation. I think you're right. I think because he says, wading in your trauma, engulfed in your pain, dilute my senses and water down my veins, throw me to the wolves, cut out my tongue for yours. Right. Our sins are shared. They're seeping through my pores. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, well, that's interesting, because if you come from that angle, I actually think that I don't know enough about him, but it seems like the stuff that he's singing about is real. So it's like, I think you are still doing God's work, Mm-hmm. But they're not going to let you know that. They're not going to let you feel that or believe that. He says, cauterize the nerves. Who does my life serve? So then so it's causing him to question. And then I just keep falling from grace. But it's like, okay, are you falling from God's grace? Or are you falling from the grace of those people? Mm-hmm. I'm decaying in this place. See, it totally flips it. Mm-hmm. So now I carry my halo around my neck, which means he hasn't abandoned the whole thing. He's just like, well, I can't wear it up here anymore because I'm trash now. That's because right. I do this. But it's still a part of me, so I'm going to wear it here. But it's like, when it's around his neck, it kind of gives you the idea of a noose too. Like, when you turn religion, when you turn the words of God into religion that then becomes a noose around somebody's neck, like, you've completely abandoned it. Like, that's not the way that it should be. Christ came to bring us freedom. So yeah, wow, what a crazy song. I loved it.
Banning abortion is never the solution to minimize the amount of abortions. No doctors will provide care for someone who miscarriages, for instance, that they risk punishment for doing it. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's just a talking point. Look at Texas. Texas had thousands of 18,000 abortions in a 6-month period, and they made it illegal, and the numbers dropped precipitously. Look at South America. They made abortion illegal 2 years ago, and they've had 50,000 less abortions. So it's just simply not true. The subject is not abortion, but I couldn't let that stand. I had to correct it. Mm-hmm. If you're going to bring up abortion stats, bring up the stats. Mm-hmm. Banning abortion permanently absolutely reduces the number of abortions that are done. I know people have this mythology. Oh, they're going to be coat hangers. They're going to fall down the stairs. Okay, show me all the women who've done that in Texas.
I mean, I met a girl...
Show me all the women with the hangers and throwing themselves down the steps and drinking cyanide. Show me all those people in Texas.
I met a girl 2 months ago that said she was in an abusive relationship, she was pregnant, and then she found out that dude was also cheating on her. And so that was the end of their relationship, and she said she was very early in her pregnancy, and she was just over whatever it was, if the cutoff point was 6 weeks, like, she was just over that, so she couldn't have the abortion. And she was pretty scared, but because she would have had to cross state lines to go and have it done, and it just wasn't something she could do. And she was basically, like, so glad that happened, because she basically said, like, her daughter's her saving grace, like... And the idea that she almost did it.
Just like on Handmaid's Tale, where all the rape babies were the reason the women stayed alive and kept fighting.
Yep.
I like the song, heavy subject matter. I'm going to give this one a 9.6. Hopefully this dude can find a way to harmonize his walk with God.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, we're going to...
And his love for music. Here. I don't see him saying anything like unchristian in these songs, though.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
He's talking about sanctification, all this other stuff. Like, he's on the team. He's just doing like something he loves. He's not even spreading anything. Like, it got crazy. I think Nate was talking about this, like the superstitious nature of Christianity sometimes. Like, was it the Devil's Triangle? There's like 3 kind of notes, and if you play them in sequence, it's like like conjuring up. Seriously, Google it. Like the Devil's Triangle on guitar. Like, it's some weird thing where it's like, I mean, these are our people. Like, I'm not, there are people. Those are Christians that are doing it. It's just, I don't know. Go ahead.
That's it. I gave it this one. See, it's tough because I'm really liking the whole thing, and I feel like each song that we do is raising the points of the whole thing for me. I'm going to go with a 9.6.
All right, guys, 9.6. I give it a 9.5, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, look at this. The next song is called No Saviors. Get the lyrics. Por favor. This next song is by Sylosis. Remember, guys, DJ Ben has made it so that we can listen to the entire EP. The name of the EP is The Path, which is really also interesting. Sirat al-Mustaqim in Arabic is the path of the righteous. So the path a lot of times is talking about religion or whatever. But anyway, let's do it. Song number 3 off of a 5-song album. Everybody pay homage to the big homie DJ Ben. Really, really good selections, Ben. I mean, it's all one band, but I gotta say, Sylosis is one of those bands where I genuinely like them. Genuinely would love to see them at a show that I would not have known about. I mean, it's almost single-handedly Ben, right? That brought us Sylosis.
Your memory's better than mine. It seems like it to me, but
shout out to DJ Ben for bringing us Sylosis.
I don't want to say that and then be missing somebody. They'll be like, "Hey."
Yeah, tell those girls to put on the AC again, por favor. I'm gonna force quit all this stuff. We're a little bit chippy. We're gonna let this chippiness cycle out, guys, because you guys know the deal. So once that gets taken care of, we're gonna be right back in business. Don't worry. A little bit chippy right now. Maybe you guys can ask a question. Ask a question! And then, did you message the kids? Tell them? Okay, wonderful.
Oh, wait. He's saying it's called As Above, So Below. Oh, whoops, I clicked the wrong one. Apologies.
Thank God. As Above, So Below is the next one. Thank you, Ben. My God. You would have ruined us.
It did seem like it was going way too fast. I'm like, only 2 songs left?
Yeah.
Yeah, DJ Franco brought us Sylosis first.
But I've done the most Sylosis. Okay. Right. All right. Even better. I think it's starting to speed up now, see? It's starting to catch up.
Yeah, you can see me chewing really fast.
Yeah.
In hyper speed.
I didn't watch the VP debate because I don't believe it's important. I don't believe anybody's making any decisions based on Walz or J.D. Vance. I think it comes down to Trump and Kamala, and that's why I believe that Trump is going to win in a landslide. So that's my opinion. I think we're good now. All right, guys. Shout out to Jet.
Hi.
In the building. Did you tell them girls to put on the AC? All right. Here we go, guys. Song number 3. What did you call it again? As above, so below. Here we go. Let me turn off this background music real quick. DJ Ben in this bitch. Okay, do 112 for the timestamp. Okay, 112. Here we go. Sylosis. As above, so below. Go. Whoa.
Blood from a stone. Walk the beating track. I want my fist in the bone when the world spits back.
Whoa!
I won't die on my knees, but I'm tired of dragging my feet Would there's hell to be? Earn these scars with blood and bone. As above, so below. And it's a cruel world, but it's the one I know. Yeah. No pity. What a tragedy. Reform, rebuild. Face a world that shows no mercy. Drain, burn the kettle at both ends. Nothing to show when the light descends. All that's left is the breath in my lungs. You're taking names, I'm taking tongues. What goes around, I know, comes back again. Bleed the life from each day. Or there's hell to pay. Earn these scars with blood and bone. As above, so below. And it's a cruel world, but it's the one I know. Surrender your soul to nothing, to no one. Trembling masses lined up for judgment day. The reaper once is told that I will pay.
Whoa. What time does it end? There it
Oh
is.
my gosh, I love this band.
As above, so below. Yes, I was wondering that, Ben. I kept signaling to my partner, when does it end? And she was like, oh, over there, Sylosis. I was like, okay.
I thought you were saying that. Did you put the timestamp? No. So I kept pointing to here, saying, "Yeah, bro."
No, I'm like, when are we
Then I showed it to you over there. I'm like, "It's over here. It's up." And then you still kept tapping around. I was like, "What is he doing?" I was like, "Oh."
Thank you, Ben, for being able to understand what I was asking for hundreds of miles away.
The end of the song. Oh,
unbelievable.
Oh. You know, I'm trying to enjoy the song as well. I don't want to be pestered with all these questions.
The end was a little bit. I didn't understand like what we were doing completely at the end with the last couple, the last two counts of the last two riffs or whatever. It seemed a little bit out of place. I don't know.
Oh,
but go ahead.
I disagree. I liked the entire thing, and I like when the music sort of like stops but then comes back. I love it when they do that.
Yeah, that was
it's never gonna get old for me.
That was my least favorite part of the song.
I loved it. I loved it. So he says, "I drew blood from a stone, walked the beaten track. I work my fists to the bone, and the world spits back. I won't die on my knees, and I'm tired of dragging my feet till they bleed. All I had came from within, and it's what they took from me. I wonder who that is. The fans? Oh no.
Who's they?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I wonder who that is. The fans? Or it could still be that same group of people. What goes around, I know comes back again. Bleed the light from each day, and there's hell to pay.
There's hell to pay.
Or bleed the light from each day, or there's hell to pay. Earned these scars with blood and bone, as above, so below. It's a cruel world, but it's the one I know.
So if it's as above, so below, and we're in the below, and it's a cruel world, that means it's a cruel world up there too, right?
Could be.
As above, so below is that's a pagan. Where's Kai? Isn't that a pagan term? As above, so below?
I thought that was biblical.
On earth as it is in heaven would be the biblical version.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure the pagans had a phrase like that too. I'm not sure. But you're supposed to pray the Lord's Prayer, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So that's as above, so below. And then it was John 21 where it says Jesus kissed them and said, receive the Holy Spirit. Whoever sins you forgiven will be forgiven in heaven. Whoever sins you don't forgive will not be forgiven. Mm-hmm. So obviously the Roman Catholics interpret that to be Peter, the Pope, and the sacerdotal priesthood that has the ability to do that. In a Protestant version of things, every believer has the ability to do that.
Yep.
So the phrase as above, so below, it's really interesting too because we're post-millennialists, right? So you might notice that we don't talk about heaven a lot or hell. Most of the time I talk about the new world because I am a post-millennial. I believe that the majority of the world is going to be voluntarily Christianized before the return of Christ. So voluntary. So the passage in Isaiah where it says, in the coastlands, wait for his law. The idea is people all over the world are going to be like, listen, we've tried democracy, we've tried communism, we've tried socialism, we've tried XYZ thing. Millions of people keep ending up dead, and we always have a war every 20, 30 years. Maybe let's try to use the Sermon on the Mount as a constitution for the new world. And I think what's going to happen is when a country start adopting that and you see the kind of society that gets created, other countries will demand that. So this is not Islamic Sharia where it's like, hey, we have the numbers, so now we're going to impose this on you. This is, hey, these people are living a certain way. We want to live that way. And if you look at the Western world, the current Western world that you live in is built on Christianity and Christian principles. We're going to a Bible boogie, and you've got two documents that are revolutionary and talk about the equality of human beings relative to government. That's the Magna Carta, and then later on, obviously, you have the Declaration of Independence from the Americans. But the Magna Carta was inspired by God according to the people who wrote it. Because Christianity gives you a paradigm that says everybody is equal because we're all image bearers of God. If you operate from a Darwinian paradigm, the concept of equality doesn't really work. The only thing that guides morality is how high up the evolutionary chain people believe themselves to be. So like a roach is not as, consequential to us as a cat, for example, in an atheist framework. But there's no reason not to kill the cat, the roach, or the person, ultimately in atheism, because you're just a bunch of cells. Like, it's so funny. People are like, why are you going to send people to jail for removing a couple cells? And I'm like, well, you're made of cells too. Because you want to, see what I'm saying? Like, you're a bunch of cells right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And since you're a materialist, that's all you are. There's nothing transcendent about you. You're just a pile of cells walking around. But yeah, like it's a very interesting thing because he's talking about ultimate issues here. What goes around, I know, comes back again. That's not always true, and I think that's good news. What goes around comes around is not a biblical idea. You
reap what you sow.
That is a truism, but it is not. So, for example, Hitler gets to die in the loving arms of his mistress on his own terms.
I see what you're saying.
He wasn't dragged into a concentration camp, have his girl assaulted in front of him, and then executed in front of him, and then have to work, years for your captors after they did that to you and your kids. He didn't have to. That's how millions of people, gypsies, homosexual, like, those people had to suffer that. He got to die on his own terms. That's not what goes around comes around. You had these people that got experimented on to death because the Nazis were borrowing from the Americans, the American scientific slaveholders who were saying that black people are not completely Homo sapien. You guys were a little bit more evolved than us, and as such, you guys were able to do experiments on black people, which in the 1800s, which the Germans read and then started doing it to their own folks. So ideas have consequences. Ideas have consequences. I'm not going to go ahead and blame Darwinism for that. Darwinism just happened to be the excuse that people used. If you look at the history of slavery, that's always been there. Anytime there's a group of humans that are dominant over other humans, until the recent past, it's been horrible for them. So what he's talking about is like how cruel the world is. No pity, what a tragedy. It's true. Trump gets shot, right? Like somebody literally tried to take this man's life in broad daylight in front of his kids, in front of the entire country. And you got people shooting YouTube videos going, you had one job, how could you miss? Like that's, I posted something about without natural affection, because Paul said in the last days, people will not have natural affection. And it was this porn girl talking about how her mom helps her clean up after her scenes. What? Without natural affection. Like our world, the polarizations are becoming more stark because of the internet. We're actually seeing people's worldview play out in real time, and it's fucking disgusting. And he's saying it's a cruel world, right? But that's the only one I know.
Oh my God, that makes me so sick. Bro.
That's the only one we know. It's a cruel world. And then you think to yourself, what happened in that girl's life to make her choose that profession? And then what the hell is going on with that mother? Between those two women, there's got to be about 70 traumatic events that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a horrible situation, man. As above, so below is a popular modern paraphrase of the second verse of the Emerald Tablet, a short Hermetic text which first appeared in an Arabic source from the late 8th or early 9th century. That sounds like a Christian thing then. The Hermetic text, wasn't that an offshoot of Christianity? I'm not sure. You don't have to be religious to care about life. I agree with you. You don't have to be religious to care about life. You care about your own life and you're not religious. You do have to have religion, though, to explain why a human being is worth more than a cockroach. You do have to have God to explain why we don't call KFC a Holocaust. Right? That's what I'm saying. You cannot make those ontological distinctions at a transcendent level as an atheist, because there is nothing transcendent. Everything is made of material. And I'm not saying it's a criticism. I'm just saying it's just a bold fact. It's just a fact. Drain, burn the candle at both ends. Nothing to show when the light descends. That's probably like going from night to the morning. He probably likes the night as much as I do.
Oh, really?
But, yeah, because he's talking.
See, I took that as he said drained, burn the candle at both ends. You know when it says burning at both ends of this. So that's like you're just
right.
You're going everywhere at once, and it's not really. You're exhausting yourself. Nothing to show when the light descends. Burned. So when the light descends, as in when it burns down, there's nothing to show. Like, there's literally... I mean, I've done it just in regular life. Like, you're just doing so many things that at the end of the day, you're like, what did I actually friggin' accomplish? All I did was scramble all day long. So when he said nothing to show when the light descends, burned, all that's left is the breath in my lungs. You're taking names. I'm taking tongues. That was I don't know what he means by that, though.
Well, the phrase is kicking ass and taking names, and he's saying I'm taking tongues in the sense of I'm going to say this to shut you up. There's nothing you're going to be able to say. This guy doesn't understand religious people. Religious people always have something to say.
Yeah, I'm like,
but at the same time, I don't really. This seems to me more of a criticism of our current society you got people working 2 and 3 jobs to try to make ends meet. Look, I don't really care whose fault it is. Inflation's crazy. Although I will say it's going down a bit, but inflation's been pretty crazy. It tends to happen when you keep funding wars all over the globe. And so when people get stressed to that point and they're worried about putting food on the table, the first thing that goes is your sense of pity for other people. Mm-hmm. Halfway because all your pity is being spent on yourself and your family, but the other is because there's a certain hardness that you have to develop in order to survive in that environment.
Yeah.
And so people have this about New Yorkers. I talk about it all the time. Like, a New Yorker will shove you out of the way to get on that train. They'll do anything. They'll shove you. Mm-hmm. You're walking down the street or going down the steps. You're going too slow. Them dudes will go right past you. I've seen old ladies tumble down, all types of shit. But then when you get in the train, them same people will stand up for a pregnant girl, tell her to sit down. Mm-hmm. Them same people, empty train cart, girl shows up with a little baby, they'll put out the weed. Mm-hmm. Like, and so it's that dichotomy of, yes, New Yorkers are yes, it looks like, man, these guys are like robots or whatever. But there's a human side to it based on what happens with the environment. Mm-hmm. And so that's a very good insight from this guy. It seems the first one was the previous song was about religion, but the next song is kind of about, like, this is a world where, Mudvayne did the song World So Cold. And it is a cruel world, man. Like, every time one of my people dies, it just reminds me, like, these people are nothing to these people. They don't care. They're just going on with their day, man.
Yeah.
But these people meant the world to me, Mm-hmm. So it's crazy, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you give it?
Jeez. I'll go 9.5 for this one.
I'm gonna give this one a 9.3. This guy is a very get the lyrics for the next song. Probably.
When he said, I already said it too. No pity,
nice.
What a tragedy. Reform, rebuild. When he did the reform, rebuild, it reminded me of. I know I'm not gonna. I don't know what the name of the band is. I always call it the guy with the chili mic.
Oh,
is that Receiving End of Sirens?
No.
No, who is that?
No, that's not As I Lay Dying. August Burns Red.
August Burns Red, right?
Yeah.
And when he's screaming.
Yeah, that Jeremiah passage, I'll rebuild you up again. But it's interesting, though. No pity, what a tragedy, reform, rebuild. That to me is like the cycle. It's like, oh, this economic system is terrible. Look at these monarchs and all these people taking all this shit from the regular people. Look at all these wars they put us in. So then everybody was like, yeah, let's overthrow the Tsar Nicholas and all that. Let's overthrow him. Boom. And then we get communism, and the exact same thing happens, and hundreds of millions of people die. Mm-hmm. And then the capitalists go, see, this would happen to me live on the air one time with this Russian dude. And I'm like, look at all these people that communism has killed. And the guy goes, how many people has capitalism killed? I'm like, what are you talking about? I was completely ignorant. I had no idea what the hell I was talking about. All these human-made economic and governmental systems are doomed to fail because they're originated from human beings, and human beings are always going to do things that are advantageous to them and their immediate circle. So if a human being comes up with a law, you're gonna get inconsistency. You're gonna get everybody has a right to bodily autonomy except for if you're this age. Everybody has, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, like, all the human economies and means of governance have failed us. And I think that's what he means by what a pity, reform, rebuild, because it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're going to have this crazy reaction to predatory capitalism, so now we're going to swing the other way and put people in prison for making X amount of money and taking the money from them that they worked hard to earn. You got people saying, no, there should not be billionaires. Like, I don't think people understand how dangerous a phrase like that is. What do you mean there should not be billionaires? What will happen?
Right, yeah.
What will you do to ensure that there are not billionaires? Mm-hmm. See, this is the, so, and then when you put things into governmental hands, it's always going to be this heavy-handed, ham-fisted, we're going to show up at your place with guns and shit, like the BLM thing, the Bureau of Land Management during the Obama administration. Like, the world is crazy, and I think the earlier you understand, see, this is the thing, is like, if you were not grown up with the concept of original sin, this world's going to traumatize you invariably, because the things that you hear and see, especially now that we've got the internet, are so brutal that you can't process them because you didn't think that human beings had that in them. But if you believe in original sin, Hitler was a baby one time. Okay? So nothing surprises you, and you're able to more in a clear-eyed way at least get on the path to building a realistic society that's going to benefit the most people possible. I don't think human beings by themselves are going to be able to create a society where that's completely democratic, completely recognizing the equality of every human being. I think we're hundreds of years away from that. But, which is why Genesis 1:26 is at the beginning of the Bible, and the explanation of evolution and biology and all that stuff he left for us to figure out. Because he's like, what they really need is to know that every human being is in the image and likeness of God. But we can't even figure that out. We can't even figure that out. We got some humans that are valuable, and you have other humans that are just... You've seen it right now with the Palestinians and the evangelical Christians. There are some babies
like,
that...
The poor Jews are at war.
There
not
are
realizing, okay, they're going after the Palestinian people, killing them, withholding food from them, all of this. But they want to look at the Jewish people like they're perfect, and the Palestinian people are the bad ones, instead of realizing what's actually going on here. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, evangelical Christians will cry their eyes out about a 6-month-old that dies in the womb in Nebraska, but they don't give a fuck about the 6-month-old that died in her mother's womb because her mother got bombed in a house and she got trapped and she died of thirst and all the rest of it. We don't give a fuck about that lady. But God forbid some 16-year-old girl goes to a party, does some shit, ends up in a clinic. She's the worst person in the world. But the people that did that to that Palestinian lady, we're going to keep sending them billions of dollars because they're God's chosen people. Man, if you don't stop. Dispensationalism is probably the most evil doctrine I've seen worked out in the real world, to be honest with you. But we have... I do believe that we as Christians have the solution. The problem is that the world is right to say, well, live that shit out and let's watch you and see how it turns out. They have the right to say that. And the product of Christianity that we're presenting to people is something that they can't. As Potato said, you don't need to be a super religious Christian to know that if a Palestinian woman dies with her 6-month-old in her body of thirst and suffocation, that's one of the worst things possible we could do, and whoever's doing that needs to be brought to justice. I'm pretty sure if I bring 10 atheists into the room, they're going to have the right understanding about what to do in that situation. But if you bring 10 evangelicals in the room, there'll be about 2, and it'll be me and you. That just is what it is, man. Like, the church is reflecting the coldness of the world, and as far as the world goes, I'm cool. Like, the world is supposed to be cold, it's populated by sinners, we don't know God, whatever. But we're supposed to be the city on a hill. And instead, we got to rely on the atheists to be our moral conscience. We got to get Cenk Uygur up there yelling and screaming. We got to get Anna Kasparian up there crying and shit. Meanwhile, I just got done listening to a bunch of evangelicals go after Han Cannegraaff because Han Cannegraaff said that the Jews aren't God's chosen people. So that's the thing that gets them all emotional. But the Palestinian kid, nah, fuck that kid, bro. I don't need him. We're pro-life over here. Then you wonder why the secularists go, no, you just want to control people's bodies. That's why! That's why they say that. Because we're watching a genocide happen right now in front of everybody's eyes, and evangelicals are supporting the murderers. So then when we show up and say, we don't want you to kill that baby, they're like, you're full of shit. And most of the time, they're right. It's just a fact. It's a fact. I'm sorry. 9.7 for me.
I believe I already gave my scores a 9.5.
9.5, you say? All right.
All right, you guys know Saviors.
I'm waiting for Ben. Ben. I want Ben's score for this song.
You gave it a 9.8 or a 9.9. I can't
Who
remember.
did? Ben? I think I gave it like a lower score because
you did, and then you changed it.
Because no, it's because what's his face? I think it was Song Stomp. All right, what did you give it?
I gave it a 9.5.
All right, 9.3. I'm still waiting for Benji.
You changed it to 9.3?
Yeah, I put it at 943.
Okay.
So we should have the 1% control everything. Some billionaires can be seduced by money and believe they hold the rest of us by the balls, and yes, they can do it. No, Dwayne. That's my point. My point is that secular economic theory cannot account for the kind of world that you want to live in. Because you have got to, any economic system has got to be combined with some sort of moral system and moral paradigms and moral boundaries. And since we're all advanced and we know we don't need morals because morals don't really exist because we're in a material physical universe and you can't get a concept of goodness from atoms. These are all just philosophical systems set up by people. And if I'm the one with $1 billion and I'm controlling everything, I'm going to channel my capital to what's going to give me the most and permanent influence, as well as give my kids influence over your kids. So I'm with you. I don't think that capitalism is the solution. It is not the solution, but neither is communism, neither is socialism. We haven't landed on an ism yet that bestows true equality on all of its citizens. We have the seed of it in the Declaration of Independence, but in the practicality of it, there have been many groups that have had to fight for that right. All right, 9.3. We have another song coming up. You already sent me the lyrics?
I did.
What is the name of this
It's called No
thingamajiggy?
Saviours.
No Saviours, okay. And you already got the lyrics? Mm-hmm. This is Sylosis.
Mm-hmm. It's been sent to you, sir.
975 is the number. So whoever is on Rumble right now and types in 975 is going to get a point. Let's see if Lost Hate is awake. Yeah.
He was like, question, can I have a point?
Poor Lost Hate. We try to hand it to you, buddy. We try to hand it to you, Lost Hate. What happened? Somebody's
he
gonna
left.
get it.
He said he got lonely over there. There wasn't even lights to keep him company.
Dwayne got it. 975.
No, Lost Hate. I thought they can't put it through on the YouTube side. They have to put it through in Rumble. I thought that was the whole point, was they have to get it through in Rumble.
I don't know, man.
What do you mean you don't know?
Because it's supposed to be 10 likes, right? So we've already broken a rule because there's only 3 likes.
So you're saying it could be from anywhere. So it's not about a Rumble thing because Rumble didn't have enough likes.
Well, it is about Rumble. I'm trying to encourage people. All right. I agree with what you're saying. All right, here's what we'll do. We will give Dwayne a point, and we will give Lost Hate 2 points for his faithfulness.
Wow!
You get 2 points, Lost Hate. Come on. For his Rumble faithfulness. Y'all are going to be really upset when you guys see all the shit that this kid ends up with. You'll be like, what the fuck? I wasn't told. I wasn't told. That's what they're going to say.
Okay, I'm adding the points right now.
All right.
Edit post. Dwayne gets 1 point. Dwayne is up to 4 points now. And Lost Hate is going to get 2 points, making his score 11 points. He is the highest so far.
All
right. Save.
Save it.
Saved. Okay. Sylosis. You guys know what it is. Up next is called No Saviours. Get that timestamp 41. Let's go to 42.
140. Just do 142.
Yep. Sylosis-No Saviours is what it is. Let's check it out. I already sent you the lyrics.
Only Dwayne would be upset that he got a free point. You got a point, Dwayne. I gave you a point. What's the problem?
I wasn't told.
My God. All right, here we go. Sylosis. Let me get these lyrics up first, because I'm always chimping on the lyrics, and that's always the reason.
Give me a new timestamp then, please.
Oh, that's true. All right, I'll give you a new timestamp, lady.
Thank you.
Give me a second.
And you called me lady.
Yeah, I know.
That's what our sons call us.
I use that term loosely. All right, tell the people.
Wow.
Tell them it's 143.
143. The name of the song is No Saviours, and our DJ has no words. We're going to go from 14 even to 1828.
Okay. So you do it on 143, right?
Yeah, I already did.
Okay, so we got 15 seconds before we start.
Let's go.
This is Sylosis. What do you say? No Saviours?
No Saviours.
No Saviours. We're going on a journey here. I'm so happy that we're listening to this EP because there's clearly a theme in this record, right?
Hi.
What? What's Kai doing?
He came in, he's like, 975!
All right, here we go!
Late.
No Saviours.
Okay, he went with that
this is why I'm
vocal
so happy.
style,
I'm so
but
happy.
at the same time, he was singing. It was
Yes.
that I don't think I've ever heard that before. If I have, it just didn't like stay stuck in my mind. But like singing in that desperate way, I was like, "What?"
This just came out? Did this record just come out?
October 3rd.
Okay, so it really just came. Shout out to Sylosis, man. Damn.
Look at that, October 3rd. Whew.
Hunter doesn't like metalcore vocals, and neither does Dwayne. What about this song hit you? Because you looked.
I just like the way he sings. And I also like, okay, the No Saviors But Us, No Saints You Can Trust, Disengage from the World Stage, Let the Machine Rust. I don't know in like the whole scheme of things. I'm sure you're going to break it down.
Did you get that 143 on there?
What are you talking about?
The
Timestamp?
timestamp?
Yeah, it'll be there. It's
Okay.
right there. I just haven't. Every time I do something, it pauses other things.
Got you.
And we're trying to run a show here.
Saying what Ben is saying, that's all.
It's coming, Ben. It's coming. So I liked No Saviors, that part of it, because when it said disengage from the world stage, let the machine rust. For me, this was like, when I became part of your world, you were basically like slash and burn, like all the systems that kind of keep people locked into a certain place. You were like, for what? Why? For what? Mm-hmm. And I feel like I was always trying to just kind of keep that lifeboat up to keep perceptions a certain way and make things look a certain way. And so that part, No Saviors But Us, No Saints You Can Trust, Disengage from the World Stage. It's just, it does kind of seem like everybody is, like that there is a sort of stage where there's certain rules that you have to follow, and if you don't, you're out. And if you play by the rules, you can get certain places, but some people that won't play by the, well, like for instance, I mean, look at Trump right now. I mean, he's getting shot at because he won't play by the rules.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, man, but him getting shot at all the times, to me, validates that he's an outsider. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, bro. I'm not going to get into specifics, but that shit the first attempt was... Yeah, that was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Oh, there's so many things I could say. I think he's talking about the political arena, particularly in America.
Okay. How does it feel to be watched at all times?
Yeah,
so we're between the lines.
We're in a surveillance state, so we're constantly being watched. This is what happened with Edward Snowden, right? Where, and Batman, the Batman with the Joker, was dealing with that. Because remember, Batman, I think it was Alfred, Batman had created this thing where he's able to see everybody. Mm-hmm. And Morgan Freeman was like, what the hell are you doing? Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is immoral. We can't do this. Mm-hmm. And that was wrestling with the fact that, like, for example, Obama had the Verizon scandal where all these records of everybody that used Verizon, that was Obama. Mm-hmm. Edward Snowden ran, not from a Republican, he ran from the Obama administration. Clinton got on there and talked about he needs to die, whatever. So I think what he's talking about is our political system. Every 4 years, we are told that the opposite party destroyed the Edenic state of America, and this political party or this guy at the head of this political party is going to bring us back to the glory days. And there's almost a messianic attachment to these political figures. You saw it with Obama. With Obama, it had the hope thing, and then it had like a halo on him. Like people were using like Christological terms to describe him. Mm-hmm. And then, I'm going to release all these people from Guantanamo. Mm-hmm. He had no idea what he was talking about because he thought everybody in Guantanamo came from Afghanistan. That's not true. We have the rendition. People don't understand this. We have the rendition program. And it's a horrible program, but it's extremely effective. So rendition is, if your name is, I don't know, Walid Al-Qasaspa, and we think that you're part of some outfit, boy, we will show up at your house at 3 o'clock at night, and we will take you and put you in an unmarked van, and your family will never see you again, and you will wake up somewhere in Yemen.
Yemen?
Yeah. We got black sites over there. Got black sites everywhere. That's where Al-Awlaki got radicalized, was in a facility in Yemen. People were doing all types of crazy shit to him to get information or whatever. So, like, we are in a surveillance state. We've always been a surveillance state, but especially after 9/11, the USA Patriot Act, run by Republicans. See, this is the thing. Like, Republican voters have this narrative that, oh, Republicans they don't want a big government. They want small government. Who passed the Patriot Act? That was a Republican. That was under the Bush administration, which completely stripped us of our rights, all the rest of it. Legalized rendition. We've never been able to get back from that. It was the Republicans that set up Homeland Security. So Bush had this horrible war, but by 2012, everybody was like, yo, I'm over this war, blah, blah, blah. Even the Republicans turned on Bush, that was a bad war. So in comes Obama. Obama never voted for the war. He was one of the few that voted against it. So there was all this messianic promise about Obama. Look, he's got the hair on his head. He's peace. He's got an Islamic name, and we got beef with all these Islamic countries. He's got all these countries. He's going to show that we don't hate you. There's not going to be any war. He's going to release everybody from Guantanamo. Everybody's going to get health care. Right? That's the reason he got reelected, is because there were so many elements on the plate that his argument was, I can't do that in 4 years. Give me another 4. Yeah. Great. And what happened at the end of the Obama administration? Everybody turned on him. Black people turned on Obama. Puffy turned on Obama, which now is a really, really good thing. Umar Johnson turned against Obama, all the rest of it. And then what happened? Well, here we go. Here's another savior. MAGA, make America great again. And what is the promise with MAGA? We're going to go back to the way it was before when it's all nice. And then you got people saying, wait a second, when was America great? Because my people back then were, right? And like, now Trump is the Messiah. So Trump gets shot. He's got something, he got nicked in the air. But you go to that Republican whatever thing, whatever it was, and you have hundreds of people with like patches on their ears. And to me, I probably went overboard, but I really truly thought that was a terrifying thing to see. Because to me, it was just like wearing a cross on your neck. You're identifying with your leader who presumably took this cross for you. So if you listen to Trump people, like the way they talk about dude like he's the Messiah. Oh, he got shot. He still loves his country. But like, I'm with it. I look, I don't care who you are. If you're an American and you saw him say fight after he got shot, I don't care. His gangster was up there. Like, I'm cool. That's legit. But he's not the Messiah. Mm-hmm. And you got these people walking around. To me, you could make a direct line to the cross of Christ, where people are wearing that to identify themselves with the suffering of their Savior who suffered on their behalf. And they're doing the same thing.
It could also be like, like when somebody goes through chemo and they lose their hair and then other people shave their head to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
I mean, you're more involved in that stuff.
I don't think so. I get what you're saying, though, but you got to think about it. Like, the chemo thing is not looked upon as a badge of honor. But in certain contexts, getting shot is actually a badge of honor. See what I'm saying? That there's a difference there. Mm-hmm. It was never honorable to die on a cross in the Roman world. Mm-hmm. And that's why the Christians did not use the cross as their original symbol. They used a fish. Mm-hmm. I don't think they would have thought to use the cross. People were still getting crucified over there. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you have all of these, like, and Potato's right. Trump's a businessman. And so economically speaking, I think that's going to be good for us. But it's just, to me, the song was just about desperate people in a desperate world. Like, everybody's looking for some sort of savior to rescue them. Yeah. And politically, the American system is, every single election has been the most important election. In 2008, when Bush was running, he's like, this is a very important election. We'll lose a war on terror. In 2012, when Obama was running, this is a very important election. We're not going to be able to get out of these global wars if we don't have Obama. 2016, hey, Obama's the Antichrist. Make America great again. And now people are saying Trump is the Antichrist. It's insane. Like, the fact that we can't catch these patterns. Yeah. And so what he's saying is, man, just let the machine rust. I'm out. I'm not voting for Obama. I'm not voting for Trump. Nope. You guys can have it, and you guys can let your system just completely disambiguate itself right in front of everybody. And that's a lot of people. A lot of people are like, man, they don't see the value in participating in the political system, especially black males. We're going to shock the world on November. I promise you that. Because See, this tells me that the Democrats really have never really been tapped in with black people. Because they don't understand how Kamala is perceived by black people. So they just, oh, she's black, all right, bring her in. like, okay. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a really, really deep song because this is interesting. The previous song I just looked at is a secular song. It's A World So Cold. This one is, I think, is a political song, but notice he's combining the religion with the politics here. So no saviors, no saints, that type of thing. Is because is because there are a lot of outposts of secular religion that people don't understand. Like a lot of the LGBT shit is religious. Because you're telling us, don't look at the physical world you see in front of you. There is some invisible essence of womanness or manness that this person is. You cannot support that from a materialist worldview. It's impossible. In materialism, what you see is what is, that's it. So you have to incorporate some sort of religious transcendental understanding in order to make that work. And so we are born religious people, man. And we are born followers. And if you say you don't need religion, you're just going to reinvent it under a different name. If you say a biological man is a woman, I'm not commenting on whether that's right or wrong. All I'm saying is you cannot support that from a physicalist perspective. You have to have some sort of transcendent soul in order to make that work. And then you have, look, the Roman Catholic Church has this thing called the magisterium. And if you disagree with the magisterium, you are de facto wrong. And so, I'm sorry, but Roman Catholics have surrendered their minds to the magisterium. And unfortunately, a lot of our atheist friends have surrendered their minds to the scientific magisterium.
Yep. Right.
So if the scientists say it, they believe it, and they think that that's proof. I've gone through this exercise so many times with my atheist friends. They go, "You believe in faith from a book?" I said, "That's true." I said, "You believe in evolution?" "Yes." "You believe in the Big Bang?" "Yes." "Did you see the Big Bang happen?" "No." "How do you know it's real?" "Because scientists say so." "How do you know the scientists said so?" "Because I read it in a book." "Did you meet any scientists?" "No." "Did you reevaluate the experiments that they made?" "No." "But you know that they did it?" "Yes." That's faith. That's not knowledge. That's faith. And then if you go against the scientific magisterium, you're out. We saw this during the COVID situation. Well, it turned out those conspiracy theorists were right. But Fauci was up there saying, "I am science. To disagree with me is to disagree with science." Why is he saying that? Because he understands that the secular mind has completely submitted itself to the scientific magisterium. So if the scientific magisterium says that Negroes are not really fully human, they're not evolved as we are, then it's open season on them. But now, after the Civil War, the scientists are saying, actually, Negroes are actually human, so now we think Negroes are equal to white people. So a lot of this entire system is crumbling. Every belief system or unbelief system needs faith for it to work. That's just a fact. The problem comes in when you have human beings who then become the encapsulation of all of those ideas. And that's what Obama is on the left, and that's what Trump is right now on the right. He's the embodied encapsulation of all their desires and fears and dreams. And so that's what's going on in these kinds of elections, and that's what they're selling to people. And it just makes you wonder what kind of world we'd have if Bernie Sanders was the president. I do believe that if Bernie was the president over Trump in 2016, that Putin would have invaded Ukraine a lot quicker. Because they see Bernie as soft, and they don't see Biden as soft, but they felt that he was incompetent to really stand up against him because where he was. So none of these things are simple. I got converted to Bernie Sanders just watching him in the thing talking to Killer Mike, and he's radically pro-choice. I mean, they're killing babies at 8 months over there in Rhode Island. I mean, it's horrible. But I was going to vote for him because I said, well, Medicare for All is also going to save a bunch of lives, right? And I don't need the Supreme Court to get rid of abortion. Just look at Buck v. Bell. So that was my logic. My logic was, I'm going to vote for Bernie. He's going to take care of people. We're not going to have people dying of diabetes, all the rest of it. And as far as pro-life stuff, we're just going to keep grinding, and because there's a lot of laws that get changed or norms that get changed before the Constitution gets changed. And but then Bernie was taken from us, So I think the 2016 election really made me cynical I was always involved with the process, and I was always excited about it because my mom was really big on it. But 2016, when I watched what happened with Bernie, it made me really cynical. And oddly enough, even though I couldn't stand Hillary Clinton, the debate between Trump and Hillary also disillusioned me, because Hillary was clearly, she had mastered every subject. Like, people that really know me, I've listened to probably thousands of hours of debate. Is that an exaggeration?
No.
Thousands.
No, I think you're underestimating it.
I've taken part in a multitude of debates. Some of them are out in,
Some of them are lost forever.
I have never seen a person with more command of so many separate issues than Hillary Clinton against that debate in Trump. And the only thing we heard about was, you'd be in jail. Mm-hmm. And that was the other thing. I'm like, okay, it's like, this woman has a laid out plan for economics. She's got a laid out plan for, and I couldn't stand her, but I'm like, she should have won that debate. It should have been a hands down one-sided debate, because that's what I do. But he had that little zinger, and I'm like, okay. So we had Bernie. Bernie's gone. And now, and again, I didn't want Hillary to win, but she clearly won that debate. Mm-hmm. And none of the media was talking about that. And I was just like, man, this is just stupid. This is just dumb now. Like, we're just, and, but at the same time, Trump's ability to connect with human beings is a skill set in and of itself. And it appears to me that Hillary had the emphasis on the wrong syllable. She thought, if I present myself as a competent individual, but see, that could only work if she was running against Biden. Mm-hmm. If Hillary was running against Biden, she would have wrecked shop. Mm-hmm. Because the question was competence, and yes. Hillary, I'm sorry, she was the most competent. There's no close second. And so when I saw that debate and how that thing went, I'm like, this is just, I don't know. There just seem to be so many things at stake in that election for it to be ended just by a cult. I don't know. But I mean, I'm not crying. I mean, I don't care about Hillary Clinton. You know what I'm saying? Like, hell, if Hillary would have won, Roe v. Wade would still be around. You see what I'm saying? So, it is what it is. I thought this was a really, really good. This song, it's not a concept album, but the themes are overlapping, but he's not using. It's very, very hard to write like this. Like, they're doing a great. I don't know who the lyricist is for this band, but whoever he or she or they is, they're incredible.
Yeah.
What did you give this?
I gave this one a 9.8. It was like the desperate, clean vocals for me that really pushed it over the edge. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that's the first time I've ever... I'm not saying it's never happened before. I'm just saying, like, this one, it, like, really stuck out to me because I was, like, really hearing, like, the desperate sound of the vocals. But then he also was ending it with the clean sound. I just thought that was such a cool way out. That's a 9.8 for me.
It's a 9.6 for me. It's a 9.6 for me. We got one more song, guys. Everybody shout out to DJ freaking Ben. Thank you so much for this thing, bro. We got one more song left for all you beautiful people. A lot of crazy subject matter. Did you send me that, the lyrics?
Here they come.
Okay, Shorty sent me the lyrics. We got one more song. Let's do this, dear listener. What's the name of this song?
What happened to my time?
What happened to my time? All right, here we go. Sylosis.
Okay, so the name of this one is Disavowed.
Oh, it wasn't What Happened to My Time?
Then
I literally thought that's what it was. I was like, all right, let's go. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not a bad. You don't think the title could work? What happened to my time?
What I actually said was what happened to my tabs.
Oh.
Like, I looked over there and they're all gone, so I'm like trying to scramble to open them. Okay, Sylosis-Disavowed. I'll grab that timestamp when you get a second.
Isn't that a liver disease? Cirrhosis of the liver? See what I'm saying? By the way, the background music is one of my favorite bands in the world. If you want to know who they are, send me an email. I'll get you a track. Here we go, guys. Sylosis, what did you say? Disavowed?
Disavowed.
Disavowed. DJ Ben, let's go now. Whoa. Did not expect that kind of intro. Did not expect that kind of an intro. off-putting music.
You saw right through my eyes, piercingly. Silence screams from the depths of my being. A wounded
Wow. Wow.
Wow, what a closing.
Oh my gosh.
What a closing track. Holy moly.
What a beautiful song.
All right, what do you got? What do you got? Seems like it was hitting you again.
Well, I mean, again, it's just, I just love what they do with it. I love the vocals. I love musically, like the instruments, just the way that they, it just, I don't know. This is just my style. I really like this. And then obviously, you know, I think that there's some relatable parts that I'm not sure. Like, I actually like it when you break down the lyrics because I always come up with something weird. And then you'll be like, break it down. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that's really good. Like the first song. It was the exact opposite. When it was swallow the lies I feed, I only aim to mislead. This mask is slipping ever so tellingly. That part was crazy because sometimes I think about... like how much real versus fake we all are. How much do we hide behind our own? But we all have this understanding that you can't put all of yourself for real out front for everyone. And so we hide behind masks. But I don't know, like, when did we get this idea? Maybe it was in the garden when they sinned and they decided to try to cover themselves with those leaves. Maybe that was when we were like, you know what? It's better to like cover yourself and hide than it is to face stuff. But when he says, like, swallow the lies I feed, I only aim to mislead. Like, it seems like, I don't know if he's misleading himself or if it's for the other people outside. But when he says the mask is slipping, I don't know.
What about it?
Well, it kind of, I don't know if he's saying that's a positive or a negative thing. Like, I think when the mask slips, it seems negative, but maybe it's positive in the end. Sorrow calls, for all my sins it reaps. I'd fall to my knees, but I fear it would come for me again. What? Who?
I think this is him. First of all, it's ironic because I think the first sentence in this album was, I'm taking a vow or something. I vowed to myself. And then the last song is called Disavowed.
Disavowed.
So that's really interesting to me.
Okay.
Yeah, The Path. I thought like the first song it started out with.
I gotta know now. Right here. There are blisters on my tongue. No, it must have been before
that was the second song.
Right here. I swore an oath to myself.
Yeah.
Okay, Vin.
So he swore an oath to himself. The first line in the album is I swore an oath to myself. And then the last song is Disavowed. So I also think that this is him trying to get back to faith, but he's afraid that he can't reconcile getting back to God and still having sin on his account. It's clear he doesn't understand grace yet, but it says, sorrow calls, for all my sins it reaps.
Yeah.
So I've done something wrong, which is bringing me this sorrow. Then he says, I would fall to my knees, but I fear it would come for me.
Yeah.
Falling on the knees is about praying to God.
Okay.
Right? But he says he doesn't want to do that because of fear that it would come for me. And so what is the it there? Is it his sin? A lot of people are like that. They don't want to apologize to God for their sin or ask God to forgive them because they're an addict and they know they're going to do it again. And obviously that's not the point of forgiveness in a relationship, is not necessarily to get you to stop a certain action. There are other things that are done to get you to stop. Forgiveness is, I refuse. What's up? Ah!
I was pretty sure that's who it was.
My homie! A lot of people think that, though. They're like, yo, I can't say that. I can't go to God, say I'm a Christian. I can't say any of that stuff. I still got these horrible habits. And of course, the solution is, you're not supposed to clean yourself before you take a shower. Like, that would be ridiculous. Like, you take a shower because you're dirty, right? And so you, on this earth, you will only ever come to God as a sinner. So just give up. You know, give up trying to live up to his standards and just talk to him. I mean, honestly, that's what I did. I remember a very specific time when I'm like, look, man, I can't do all this shit. You know, there's too many girls here. There's too many opportunities for violence here. I used to get home after... I'm talking about like 15, 16 years old. I used to get home after we did some crazy shit. And I remember being like, God, forgive me, you know, you know, it's like, yeah, but it was weird because I'd hear like, why are you, you know, like you're gonna, if you had to do it over again, you'd have done the same shit. And I knew that was right, but for some reason I would just keep talking to him. And I didn't really understand that until I became a parent. And then, oh, of course, because you have kids, especially, you know, teenagers, they're trying to, you know, it's that weird period between adult self-sufficiency and childlike dependency on your parents. And so there's that conflict as both parties try to work it out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just remember being, I mean, I was a kid, I was 15, 16, and we did some pretty, you know, permanent shit. But it was like, oh, you can't get forgiven for that, blah, 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 because you're going to do it again. You'd have done it again anyway. But when I have a kid and I'm fighting with my kids, man, like, I'm still checking on them, still seeing how they're doing, still asking about them. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand that about my relationship to God until I had children. When I had children, like, a lot of this shit just figured itself out. Mm-hmm. That's why you're like, why are you so, you know, you never seem to have any religious guilt or whatever the thing is. And it's because of all that. This is the lessons I learned, you know, in the hood, being as worse as I possibly could, but still having to go back to God. Because if I go to God, the chances are high that I'll probably do the same thing again, depending where I'm at spiritually. But if I don't go to God, I'm guaranteed to do it. See what I'm saying? And so I just go, okay, your job is to change me. My job is to go to you. So I'm just gonna keep going to you. And then you can change me or not, you know, and that was my philosophy for years of Christianity. I'm like, you know, and I don't know if it worked or not, but I'm still here, I guess. But it doesn't matter what people try to do. If you come from a oppressive religious background, absolutely, there's an overemphasis on sin and guilt and things like that. And what we usually do is we swing the other way and be like, everything's cool. Everything everybody wants to do is cool. If you want to make a porn with your kid, that's fine. If you want to go smoke crack with your kid, that's fine. Everything, you know, we're not doing any laws for anybody. And then you hit a certain age and it's like, yeah, this doesn't really work. and I think that's what's happening with Anna Kasparian. It's like she's entering into her 40s and a lot of the shit that she believed as a kid doesn't make sense to her anymore because now you've got some experience. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And like,
yep.
People don't give God a chance because they think God is like them. Oh, you're coming to me now when you need something. Yes. And when you're a parent, you understand that. When you're a parent and you're raising babies, that's the only time they come to you. Babies are the most self-absorbed, selfish, using people on the planet. Now, I know they have no other choice.
But they're so cute.
But you get me, right? Like, you're still required to love them unconditionally. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you were at a house and you heard a baby crying and the mom goes, "Man, you never cry unless you want something." It's like, it's a newborn. What did you expect? So that's God. God is like, here we are being all righteous. Like, I don't want to come to you just because I want something or whatever. I don't want to keep calling you every time I have a crisis. And God's like, what are parents for? Like, of course. See what I'm saying? Like a parent is all. If it's done correctly, the parent is always going to love the child way more than the child loves the parent. And I think a lot of mistakes that people run into is they're trying to treat God as an equal. He's your parent. And I don't know what people are going to say. It is what it is. But all children take advantage of their parents. Mm-hmm. So if you feel that going to God in a crisis is taking advantage of God, that's a sin that Jesus died for. You keep taking advantage of God. Because eventually, before you know it, you'll be crossed over and you won't even know. So, like, it's very, very interesting. Like, he's coming full circle. At the beginning, he's like, there's nothing. And now he's like, well, I do want to pray, but I disavowed that in the you know what I'm saying? Like, I disavowed. And a lot of people, that's like one of the worst things about growing up in a Christian household, man, is that if you do that shit incorrectly, it'll take people 20, 30 years to get over your bullshit to get back to God. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, that's why if I'm going to err, I'm going to err on the side of grace. So I want my kids to be like, Dad was a little bit too gracious. For, you know what I'm saying? I'd much rather that than, man, there was a lot of leeway he could have given us, but he was just sticking it to us all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not how God treats me. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to tell y'all some of the conversations I've had recently with the homie. Like, it's crazy. And I'm not saying, like, have a lackadaisical, relationship with God. I'm not saying, like, take advantage of God, or I'm not saying to do that. But what I am saying is, because of the ontological differences between us and God, it's almost necessary. Mm-hmm. Especially at the beginning. I've seen this as a pattern over and over again. People become new Christians. We baptize them. And then I always say a silent prayer. I'd say, God, answer every single prayer this person asks in the first year. Because I'm thinking about the baby thing, right? And I'm like, I need them to understand that it's not me. They can go to you, and you're going to come through. And he did. He did a lot. A lot of times it would come through. The people that were really clinging on me were not the street people. It was people who grew up in religion. And now, after listening to this song, I can kind of see a little bit why.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to get free.
Yeah.
Because they saw I didn't live with a lot of, you know what I'm saying? And so they were just trying to be free and trying to figure out, how do you do Christianity without
I still don't
this overarching guilt all the time?
Your overall disposition toward your whatever.
What do you mean?
I still haven't come to the point where that makes sense to me, the way that you react to your own.
Well, I just look at it the way that we overlook the sins of our children, and I know that I'm not a better father than God. And so, I'm just at the point where that's one of the few benefits of doing things that are irreversibly bad, like where you literally cannot change it.
Yeah.
It's because you're either going to, jump off a bridge or find some way to, for that to work.
Or to understand that grace he's given. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also realized that a lot of the worst shit that I've ever done was when I was away from God. So if God's like, okay, do the take advantage of thing, you're still going to be close to me. And eventually, and there's that psalm where it says, don't be like the horse and the mule.
Yeah.
Where you have to put a bit and bridle in it, otherwise it won't stay near you.
Yeah.
He said, come to me and learn from me, I'll teach you, I'll keep my eye on you. That's like one of my favorite psalms in the world, man. Because it's like, just stay close to me. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, if I'm taking advantage of God, I'm close to him. And he'll take it. He'll take exactly where I am. And people have to understand, you came into Christianity for completely self-motivated reasons. You have sins. You don't want to go to hell. You want to go to heaven. You want a better life. All of those are for you. You didn't come to God because you're just this great moral person and you're awesome. You came to God because he did something for you. And God understands that about us. It's not until a child gets to maturity where they can actually have a reciprocal relationship with their parents. Okay? And so I'm a child, and so he's always going to love me more than I love him, and he's always going to be more gracious to me than I am with my own kids. And so I take those assumptions into my walk with God. And I realized that the longer I stewed in blah, 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 the worse I was to the people around me. So for me, being able to say that was wrong, but you're forgiven is a life-changing kind of thing for me. For other people, people are not really interpreting it that way. They're interpreting it as God is angry at them. God is disappointed at them. You kind of have to do something to earn whatever. And like having a baby like fixes all that. The baby can't do a damn thing. All the baby can do is say, I'm gross, clean me, I'm hungry, give me something to eat, I'm tired, get me to bed. And when you first become a Christian, that's it. I want, me. Okay, but eventually you're going to grow. And so I've got kids that were born, and we know we've got some kids that are born with the besetting sin of selfishness, who plot and plan things and plot and plan how to say things but those same people, without any sort of instigation, are donating consistently to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Out of nowhere. And we're telling
me to pull the car over there so they can Feed the homeless.
so they could take their money and feed the homeless. You know,
Literally buy the food and then bring it over to him.
we didn't know that he was doing the St. Jude's thing until we got something in the mail. I was like, hey, you got something in the mail for St. Jude's or whatever. He's like, oh, okay. And I opened it because he wasn't telling me what was going on. I opened it and I'm like, you're giving to St. Jude's? And like, he wouldn't even tell me. This is the most selfish kid I know. But because of his proximity to us and to God, that rubbed off on him, and he did it quietly without announcing it to anybody. And that's how you know it's real. And so I just tell people, man, like, you're always going to be taking advantage of God. You're never going to have an equivalent relationship with God. Never. And that's a good thing. And so, man, go pray for him. Go tell him to rescue you when you're in a bad situation. Literally, God says, call on me in the day of trouble. I will rescue you, and you will honor me. He literally says that. So call on him in the day of your trouble. Well, what if I created the trouble that the day is? Good, even more. Call on him in the day of trouble. He's going to deliver you. All you got to do is recognize it publicly to people. That's it. I don't preach Christianity. I just tell people what God's done in my life and the life of the people I love. That's it. But the song is crazy. I like Mr. Potato here. Look at this. He says, guys who have loads of kids annoy me. Vin, you're full of shit. So Curious Potato doesn't like people that have loads of kids.
I never had kids because I couldn't look after them. But then it annoys you when other people have loads of kids that they're looking after. Interesting.
Wow. Shout out to Curious Potato. It's all good. But yeah, I think that's one of the tragedies I think about our current day is that I think a lot of us are missing a lot of things about God because we're in this, we don't need to have children. Let's just have as much recreational sex as we possibly can. We're not going to think about legacy. We're not going to think about, we're not going to think about the world and the role that our children are going to play in the world. We started that at the very beginning. I was very intentional on my part. And when the first kid moved out, like, he's going out and affecting literally the world right now. Like, I don't even tell people what he's doing because I told my dad, he was all, he's like literally sad about it. But anyway, shout out to Curious Potato. Yeah, I really like this song. I'm gonna give this one a 9.8. It just overall, this album was a better ranking than the sum of its parts, if that makes any sense.
That's exactly what I had in my head.
Yeah, it's very rare that you run into...
Because I was giving this one a 9.8, but I'm literally toggling between 9.9 and an even 10 because I really...
For the album as a whole.
For the album as a whole. I think the album... I'm probably going to give it a 10 because this is definitely... Like, I enjoyed this so much that I would listen to it again.
Yeah.
And I think it would have to be a 10. And there was also some spiritual elements to it that,
There's a lot of spiritual... I'd like to talk to this guy.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to watch you talk to him.
Yeah, I think
I'm sure the conversation would be very
even like offline. I just want to know like how close we were, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just came out, but Sylosis, hear us! Do an interview with us! There are plenty of good reasons to not have kids, just as there are plenty of good reasons to have kids.
I think that depends on where on the timeline of your life you are. Because, I talked to a lot of people and asked them what their regrets were for life when they were at the end of their lives. And every single one of them, there was two things that were always said. Every single one of them said, I wish I either had kids or I wish I had more kids. And the other thing is, I wish I wouldn't have held on to anger toward it. A lot of them, it was family members or otherwise, and just like let those relationships just sit in silence for years and years and years until there was nothing left. Those were the two big regrets. But everybody always said they wish they had kids or more kids. So I think that if you're young and you don't see what the end of life looks like, or if you've got two people in a nursing home side by side, you have one who had no children, and that's it. Like your visitor and your company, like there are literally bunches of people that never get any visitors. And I saw it all the time. This, all those rooms, they never get any visitors. You ask them if they had any kids, no kids, one or two kids, but there's problems in the relationships, and so everybody's just separated, and so this person just lives out the rest of their lives with nobody. And then you had other people, constant visitors, joy, like all these different things, and you're like, what? Then you find out it's their kids. Their kids are coming to see them in that situation. Their kids are coming, and I even had, this is horrible, but there was this really horrible patient that we had, like, I can't even go into detail, it was just too much. But this guy was so terrible. But because his son showed up in a suit, this is Maine we're talking about, because his son showed up in a suit, all the nurses spread it around, treat that patient really good no matter what he does, because his son showed up in a suit and we don't know what capabilities he has. So, like, there's even, like, that side of it. Like, your kids are going to help, whatever. And I just, even now at my age, like, kids, like, they drive you nuts at some points. Like, sometimes they do stuff that you're like, why did you do that? But then there's, like, so many things that you're just amazed at watching them see the world and experience things. And you remember joys that you had as a kid that you've forgotten about because it's become so regular, like rain or whatever. Like, when you see them, like, looking, like, at the wonder of this, like, water falling from the sky, like, what? And I don't know, there's so many elements, and kids really have a way of, like, pushing you to the end of yourself because you love them so friggin' much, but at the same time, like, they can make you really tired, and then you're like, I don't know, like, and I think that was interesting what you said about, like, the whole, like anytime that my kids are dirty, I'm never like, ew, get away from me. I'm like, oh, let me clean you up.
Right.
And I love cleaning them up and putting them in their little cute PJs and stuff. Like, and I'm like, okay, like, that's true. I'm not a better parent than God is. So that means.
Yeah, and like, my mom used to do that. You couldn't even step foot in her house. Come get pot outside, And it was like, we all knew she loved us unconditionally. It's just, don't track your nasty, sick shower. But, like, just to clear something up, Emily, this sounds like someone thinking about themselves and not the kids they could have had. The song is not about kids at all. The reason I brought up kids was because he made a statement about praying but being afraid to pray, and the implication was he had done too much dirt to then come back to God now. And so I was saying that when you have children, those kinds of conundrums get solved immediately because you realize that as a parent, you love your child unconditionally. And you want them to come to you, even if they're just using you, which is what babies do. All babies do is use their parents. So, no, he wasn't talking about kids at all. I think he was talking about his relationship with God. I just think that your relationship with God, especially considering he calls himself Father, your relationship with God will be affected significantly whether or not you have children, is what I'm saying. Now, keep in mind, I do think, like, for example, if a girl's unmarried and she's got an alcoholic, heroin-addicted boyfriend who's a stalker who beats the hell out of her, I don't think it would be wise for her to procreate with that person. If you're in a homeless shelter for, I don't know, a year and you have a job lined up till whatever, and the person says, I'm not going to get pregnant in the shelter, I'm going to get pregnant. Like, there are probably an infinite amount of reasons for why a person might say having a kid at this time in this circumstance is unwise. The problem that I have with that kind of logic is once you go over the fence, meaning once a person is pregnant, and then you start saying, oh, well, I've got second thoughts here, and now we're talking about killing somebody, that's a completely different category to me. So all I'm saying is that having children explains a lot of theology. I can tell people for years on end, God loves you unconditionally, blah, 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 blah. But if you take your sin seriously, that's a really hard thing to believe. And I think that's one of the reasons that God gave me children, at least.
Yeah.
Because I had that in my head. Because I was a middle child, not going to get in my family history, but I had to really earn, in my view anyway, I had to earn the affections of the people around me. And then once you earn it, you have to sustain it. And so I carried that into my relationship with God a lot. And that's why if you live in that kind of paradigm, you're going to be hateful and resentful because people are constantly setting you up to fail. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what it looked like to me. You know what I mean? I wasn't talking about the song. I tuned in after the song finished. I was talking about what you said, imagining that not having kids is a bad thing. I do think the majority of us should have children. And I do think, to your point, there are good reasons to have children. I also think there are bad reasons to have children. The only caveat I have is when that bridge is crossed, and it does happen, what happens after that is my only problem with that. Paul, the apostle, who in my mind is the most influential human being in the world, aside from Jesus of Nazareth, never got married, never had kids. Augustine, who is probably the second most influential person in the Western world, had kids, then abandoned them for the ministry. and after that, he was like, yeah, I mean, I guess people have to have sex. I mean, it's the way that, the world goes around. But, like, you could tell that he was, you see what I'm saying?
Unnecessary evil.
Right. So that's the difference to me. The difference to me is, yep, you don't have to have the kids. You can be a fruitful, great, honorable person if you don't have kids like the Apostle Paul, right? But if you have kids, I thought what Augustine, and I look up to Augustine like nobody would believe, but I thought that was extremely dirty what he did. I don't give a fuck if it was for God or not. Like, you abandon your kids. Like, and then he swears off sexuality and all this other shit. So then if his kid reads that document, it's like, oh, okay, thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
I think that's just horrible.
But Paul never got married, and he basically said, look, if you can't keep it in your pants, then go ahead and get married.
No, I was just saying.
So, I'm just, I don't want to sound overly, like, Catholic
I said
here.
for most of us.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to sound, I'm responding back to what you're saying. I don't want to sound overly Catholic here, but there is a line between, there's Paul, who didn't have any children, but also didn't have any sex.
Right.
So, I'm not God, but, like, you want to take the gift that God has given of sexuality, but then you want to cut off the line that he's trying, the reason why he brought sexuality in the first place.
Agreed.
Was for us to populate the planet. So, I'm not trying to tell people what to do, and obviously, like, we're in an extreme situation. Somebody came over today and they were like, so you guys have, is this a bunch of foster kids? I was like, no, these are all ours.
Well, he saw your white face first, so. Yeah, no, it's a good point, and like I said, it does factor into the album as a whole, because a lot of this, I believe, his relationship to his parents, specifically to his religious parents.
Yeah.
But I think that what Emily's saying is, and your caveat's important too. There have been fruitful, Daniel the prophet, for example, like some of the greatest people in Christian history have been unmarried and childless, and so you cannot say that people who don't do that are some sort of second-class Christian or something like that. What I will say, though, is unless you're living the life of the Apostle Paul, it is very difficult to get a broad understanding of the grace of God and the love of God not having children. It's possible, but children are almost like the shortcut to it.
I think the other thing, too, like, you can't separate yourself from your experiences most times. And for me, like, when I had that miscarriage, I had read in a book that was like, lots of people, when they have a miscarriage, within a couple of months, they're pregnant again. And so one of the ways that I was, like, trying to make myself feel better about it was literally when you're in your mother's womb as a female, you already have, like, the child already has, when they're born, they already have all the eggs that they're going to have the rest of their life. So as you month after month after month, like, there goes another egg, there goes another one, but that 1 month, that's a child that is now no longer here once that's gone. So I was trying to make myself feel better by saying, okay, well, if within the next 9 months I get pregnant, the child that I will have would not have been born if the other pregnancy, something didn't happen with it, which it didn't overall make me feel 100% better, but it was something for me to look forward to and brought me away from the date of the death of the first child.
Oh, wow.
But as I got further from it and it came to the end of the 9 months and then it went years beyond that didn't help me at all. But I think that because of that experience, like, for me, like, the idea of, and again, I'm coming from my experiences. Everybody has different life experiences, but if I was in a homeless shelter or something like that, and, like, you were like, maybe people would be like, this isn't why I see it pregnant right now. Like, I don't have those mindsets. One, because of my lifestyle, as I'm with you, you know what I mean? So it's not, there's certain things that I don't have to worry about, but also that mindset will never leave me, that each month it's like, that's a different egg, that's a different egg, that's a different egg. So then it's like, okay, if you go on a birth control or something like that, and then that all gets, what would have happened? Like, I don't know. I do think that maybe, I don't know. I don't want to say too much because I feel like that it could start sounding like really legalistic and force people into certain boxes and stuff, which I'm not trying to do. I think I just like.
I mean, I can tell you, we had a girl in our church, and they had recently gotten married, and the husband was a big birth control guy. So they did birth control for like the first 2 years, and then everybody in our church started having kids, and Shorty wanted to have kids, and it sucks because everybody around her is having kids except for her.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like in her mid-30s right now. So.
And it was crazy too because.
So it's that was also very hard for me because she used to come to me and tell me, and I dealt with it with you when you were struggling with your fertility. But anyway, we're getting way off. All right, this song is 9.6. The album is a 9.9 for me.
Yeah, the album is a 9.9 for me as well. I loved it, the start to finish. It was great.
Curious Potato, God bless you, but that's not true. It's not true. Let me read this and then we'll get out of here. Curious Potato says, you have to remember that when the Go Forth and Multiply tenet was written, it was for a tribe in the desert who were almost died out. That's untrue. If you take a Mosaic authorship theory of the Torah, when that was written, the Israelites were 1 million strong. As a matter of fact, if you look at the text, they were multiplying at a rate way more than the Egyptians, and that's the reason why the Egyptians initiated the death of the firstborn.
What are we talking about? This is Genesis, the beginning of Genesis. It was literally only Adam and Eve.
No,
right?
he's talking about the audience that it was written to. It wasn't Genesis.
Oh, I see. But when the original command came out.
Yeah, but he's saying that didn't really happen. He's just saying like if you're a tribe in the desert, if you're dying out, you're gonna say God told everybody to do this so you can maintain. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. The Israelites left Egypt 1 million strong. The reason that the Pharaoh decided to throw all the males in the river in the Nile was because they were outpacing, their birth rate was outpacing that of the Egyptians. And on top of the birth rate, they also had a lower maternal mortality. Hence the women saying that these Israelite women are different from our women because they were dying in childbirth. This is the ancient world. So Potato, that's just not true. Secondly, Potato mentioned that the world is suffering from overpopulation. We're actually suffering from the exact opposite, especially in the Western world. So I just had to correct that. We had to correct the record. We all have the path and look at this. This is crazy because she doesn't know the name of the album. We all have the path and role that we're called to, and birthing a child is not the only way to feel unconditional love. I agree in all aspects. Paul obviously felt unconditionally loved by God. What I'm saying is if you have Paul's spirituality, then great. All I'm saying is most of us don't. But yeah, much love to all you beautiful people. Much love for the people that have children and don't have children. Shout out to the big homie Ben Bear. This was a really good. I love the abstract.
And shout out to all our listeners who are children.
Yeah,
and have been.
Yeah,
and
shout
maybe
out
have grown.
And all the future children as well, dear listener.
For all perpetuity.
For all perpetuity. Big shout out to DJ Ben. Thank you guys for coming through. This was really, really fun. Everybody knows I love metal. It's all good. We love all.